What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. Glad you guys can join us today. We got a great podcast with Cory and Steve from Track or Die. These dudes have pretty much had a pretty rad story, in my opinion. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. But first, I got to let you guys know about Simpson motorcycle helmets. They are the shit. They are my helmet of choice. And I don't know if I could wear another helmet, to be completely honest with you. Check them out at simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com and Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram. I'd also like to welcome S&S Performance to our podcast. S&S has everything you need to crank out power from your motorcycle's engine, from exhaust systems to air cleaners and everything in between. Check them out at snscycle.com and on the gram at sscycle. You can also check out their podcast, which is, I'm hearing is pretty dope. I'm actually going to check it out today. So check them out. Lexin Moto has an intercom system for you, the all-new G16. It is a group rider's long-awaited answer to an affordable intercom system. It has a 16-rider comm system, Bluetooth 5.0, and music sharing. It'll keep your group connected while traveling together. This is another great product from the team at Lexin, geared at making motorcycle rides and travel more enjoyable. Check it out at lexin-moto.com, where you can apply the Fast Life offer code, which will save you 15%. And as always, you can rest assured that Lexin backs up all their products with the best customer service in the industry. My dudes at thundermax has your EFI equipped Harley Davidson covered with their high quality auto tuning ECMs. I've been running their computer on my Road Glide for over 40,000 miles, and it continues to give me the optimal performance out of my engine. Paired with their oil cooler fan, which is available for the M8 touring models, my bike's running strong and cool, and that's all that matters. You can check out these products at shoptmax.com and use offer code FASTLIFE for 10% off, and follow Thundermax EFI on Instagram. And last but not least, my dudes at Letric Lighting Co. has your bike covered from headlight to tail light with a ton of LED lighting options for many different Harley Davidson models. All lighting is backed by great warranties and plug and play options, so you can't go wrong with making the switch or stepping up to Letric Lighting Co. NAM's custom cycle products since 1999 has been offering American-made wiring products for all things V-twin, and Badlands for over 30 years has been offering the most reliable and dependable lighting modules in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty. Find out more about these great companies at namscustomcycleproducts.com, and you can drop the FL 2021 offer code, which gives you free shipping on orders over $100. Yeah, that's it. Ads going pretty quick these days, huh, guys? I want to thank you guys for joining us again. Like I said, this is the third podcast on my trip, and I had a great one. I really enjoyed these dudes. These guys are awesome. Like, I really can't explain it. You really guys just got to hear it. These guys started from, I wouldn't say the bottom, but it sounds like it in the podcast, if you will. But like I said, it was just a good story. It was a good not coming out of the closet story, but it was a good story about how these guys created Track or Die. And yeah, you guys got to check it out. And don't forget, like I said, Lucky Days is one of the big supporters of this whole trip. They're the ones that made a lot of these podcasts possible. And I want to thank those guys. Check them out, luckydaves.com, as well as Lucky Daves on Instagram. All right, we're doing it right now. Here we go. Track or Die.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Well, guys, we're doing it. Thanks for the breakfast. It was delicious.
It was delicious.
Dude, I love bagels now. Bagels are fast. Let me get all these mics right. But yeah, like I said, I've been following you guys, I think, for a while. The Track or Die has like a dope ass name. You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole concept behind it just seems like a ripping type of company. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't know, dude. It's funny you say that because, like, I don't know. I feel like it's like anything. Like, somebody with like their own name. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't like hearing your name.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when people are like Cory, I'm like, ugh. You know, like, I just don't like the sound of my name. Like, I don't know. I feel like everybody could say that. They're like, you know, you get tired of it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. With ours, I've always look at other people's names. I'm like, fuck, I wish my name was shorter, or I wish it was easier to do shit with, or like, I don't know. Like, I just wish I had like, it's like anything else. You look at it too much and you're like, fuck. Could have done something different.
I really want to get into doing t-shirts for our brand, and like sitting in there, I'm like, that's a badass idea. That's a badass idea. But I'm like, why am I worried about if it's a badass idea or not? Because it's done. You know what I mean?
And I have like the worst, like, I don't know. It's so fucking like tedious for me to come up with shit.
Yeah.
Like I'll come up with stuff and like it's all random. Like it just like, oh fuck, like at 2:00 in the morning, and I'll make a note of something and then make it later on. But when it's someone's like, we sit down, like I've been using a new guy for designs that we're gonna be coming out with soon, and he's like, oh yeah, you have any ideas for anything? And I'm like, no, not really.
Yeah. Where's that napkin I brought?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. You put me on the spot like this, and I got nothing. I was like, let me talk to everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like we'll come up with a few, but I've been letting him kind of do his thing on some. He's been doing, he used to do like a bunch of designs for like Active and shit like that, and talking back and forth with him. And he does some designs for like our buddies at Lowbrow. And I obviously like what he does for them. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, if you come up with something, like shoot it my way. Like I'll tweak it, if there's something we need to change about it, but like, don't hesitate to just shoot over what you got if we don't have much going. I was like, even if, just hit me with some shit and like we'll do it. So
we've had a problem finding people that is creative like that, because, as a painter, and like I can do logos, but that's not my jam. It's not something I'm good at, And so every time I create a logo, it's like this 6-month process of tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it and never quite getting.
That's me to a fucking T.
But letting go of that control and just letting someone that does that for a living, give me like a sheet of 8 badass logos.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
That's why it's easier for me too, because I'm like, ask him, I'm like way too fucking anal about everything. And like I'll tweak on something, like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this flyer for a sale. I'm like, it should take me 30 minutes. Like 4 hours later, I'm like, I'm still not happy with this.
How's that banner that you made? And he's like, I'm not done.
It's just one of I'm constantly like, everybody's their biggest critic. It just is what it is. And I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So giving him that like ability for us has made it a lot easier on me, because typically I'm, the same way, where I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't know, let's tweak this, tweak that, or this, whatever. But he sends me one, and I'm like, yo, that's dope. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know that I would have done that, but like seeing it, that's fucking rad. And then I'll have him maybe like fine tune some little things here and there, but it's definitely been cool to be able to like change things up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But no, the name, like I said, Tracker Diet. And when did you guys start this brand? Like, when was the initial inception of it? You know what I'm saying?
What was it, like
2015? Was it 14? Might have been 14.
Maybe. But it was, I don't know, I kind of came into it a little bit late, somewhat. Not really late, I wouldn't say, but like he started with another buddy of ours initially, and the two of them were kind of doing it, and then I kind of came into the mix a little bit later, like, I don't know, fucking 6 months, couple months, whatever. And they were already kind of running with it. And then Steve and I became friends. Like, Steve and I didn't even know each other at the time.
Yeah.
And then him and I became friends, and I kind of started going over there and like helping him out with everything. And, we kind of started doing it together. And then our buddy who he started it with didn't really have time. So he kind of moved his way out to focus on his own brand. And I kind of came in, and Steve and I kind of ran with it. Yeah. But him and one of our other buddies came up with the name and everything. Like, I didn't even have anything actually to do with that.
Yeah.
And they kind of, so it was already kind of moving when I came into the picture, but it wasn't like for an extended slow period of time. Yeah. It was like, it was new, like him and I kind of took the reins and like ran with it, with help from our buddy, because he already had a successful brand. So he was kind of pointing us in the right direction and giving us the fucking, kind of showing us the way it goes. Cause I've kind of always done everything, like been like self-taught and everything. I'd never really, I don't have a problem like jumping in and like trying to figure something out, but he really helped like show us the ropes and shit, which was cool. Yeah. And then we kind of just ran with it from there. And then I'd say probably from like 2015, mid 2015, late 2015 on, it's just been him and I really.
So,
and it's been.
So what was like your inspiration to go work at West Coast Choppers? You know what I mean? Like, how'd you get in that door?
So there's a kind of a story with that whole thing. So I went to MMI, graduated in 2005, got out of school, had no idea what I wanted to do. I just was like, I just want to be around motorcycles, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, I guess I'll just go work at a dealership. I got a job at Van Nuys Harley. They don't exist anymore. It's Santa Clarita Harley now. I worked there for a while. I was in parts for a year, service for a year. And then a bike fell off a lift I'll just tell the story, whatever. It's pretty funny. I was doing an oil change on this dude's bike, and whenever I was done with the oil and I was all done with everything, I'd grab the oil pan, I'd walk it over to the oil thing. Well, I would always hit up with the lift the guard underneath, and then pull the ramp out, get it ready for me to push it to go down. Well, I walked away and it was just going up. Well, the service writer came through and he pulled the ramp, or no, he didn't pull the ramp. He hit down and it came down on the ramp that's like underneath like this lift right here. And I'm dumping oil, so I'm like got my hands full, and I just hear a crash, and I look over and the bike's on its side. And there's nobody there. It was like Sunday or something. And so my buddy comes running out and he's like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't touch the lift. And he's like, oh, my bad. I did that. And I'm like, okay, big deal, whatever. So he's like, I'm going to go get parts ordered, whatever. Well, turns out they didn't tell the customer. So I did all this work. Customer comes to get the bike and he goes, hey, he gets the bike, takes off, comes back half an hour later, and he's like, hey, why is there new parts on my bike? Because I had different grips, and he had like, of course, it was a Sportster.
They didn't put the same shit back on?
No, because it was all ruined.
I've heard the story, but it's been a while.
So he had heated grips on a Sporty, and like all this shit that takes forever to do. So we had to redo all that. So I redid everything.
So like same day.
Yeah, and grips.
Like morning to afternoon.
Grips, like come on. If they're worn out and they're brand new, it's still got like the casting, like shit on it. And he's like, why is there new parts? And I'm like, oh, from it falling off the lift. And he goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's go talk to fucking homeboy in the office. So he goes in there, and then like 10 minutes later, I hear my service manager, Steve, come to the office. So we go in the office.
Fucked up kid.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know that they didn't tell him. I didn't know they were trying to like pull a fast one. And he's like, Steve, why do you replace parts and not say anything? I'm like, that's not my job. I don't talk to the customer. I'm just a fucking wrench.
Yeah.
And they basically were like, you had to have known. And I already didn't like the service manager. And I turned to the customer and I was like, hey, dude, I'm really sorry about all this. I had nothing to do with it. I just did the work on the bike. I turned to my manager. I fucking flipped him off. I was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And I walked out, pushed my tools started moving my shit out like right then and there.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Dean Del Rey, he's a comedian now, which is random. But he had one of the bikes. He had the Chongo Blanco.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, what are you going to go do? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, do you want a job at West Coast Choppers? I'll call. And, they're hiring right now. I'm like, yeah, do that. And like a week later, I was working there.
For real?
So it just, everything like worked out.
He worked there twice.
And honestly, when he told me, his bike was the only one I ever saw. I saw the show. Yeah. But I never really, I don't know. I never paid
really
attention.
Watched the show. I never really did. I was younger when it was on TV, because you said what it was like 102.
Well, the Monster Garage thing was kind of like
that was after.
That was
because it was the Discovery Channel special when he rode to Sturgis or whatever.
That's Motorcycle Mania.
Motorcycle Mania was like the first thing.
That's what kind of kicked off
it. Yeah. Because Steve's like what fucking how old are you?
36.
Yeah, so I'll be 30 this year, and you'll be 37 this year. So he's got about 7 years on me. So there's a bit of an age difference. So like it was kind of small. Like I wouldn't say not smaller. Small is another word. I was younger when it happened. You know what I mean? Like when all that stuff was going on. So like I knew about it, but I can't say I really watched the show. I watched Monster Garage here and there, but like I didn't really know as much about it at the time. Yeah. Just being younger.
Well, it's kind of like funny because I said this yesterday with Hot Dog. For me, I grew up in a paint and body shop, right? So that shit was not cool to me.
Right, yeah.
There was nothing about it that was cool or fun. And, I didn't see airbrush and flames and real fire and all this shit that was popular back in the...
that kind of work is like, it's fucking tough work. I was thinking about his fucking one-day stint at a body shop.
No, I did a month stint in a body shop. And my fingers have never hurt more in my life from sanding Bondo.
It's a lot of fucking...
I never want to touch this stuff.
It's a lot of hard work,
Yep. And so, like... going home from that job basically that I fucking thought was lame and not cool, and then you turn on Monster Garage and there's these people that are quote unquote famous now from doing that kind of mundane stuff that I didn't like to do. And then that barrel rolls into biker build-offs where they're showing like this painter get a segment of the show doing flames or pinstriping or whatever, and you're like,
oh, this shit's cool.
And I grew up kind of drawing and being artsy. but I never correlated like putting that with, you know, like actual automotive paint. You know what I'm saying? So those shows changed my life, like seeing it. And I'll be honest with you, the other one that got me down the path was Fast and Furious. When that shit came out in like 01, bro, like there was no other movie that was like,
had your car.
Yeah, exactly. There was no other movie that was about like the car culture.
Yeah, that definitely was like,
that was literally like, I mean, think about it. Sometimes movies like that or shows like that have to come out at a certain time for it to resonate with you as a generation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there was Gone in 60 Seconds. There's all these other car movies, but you know, those didn't really resonate with me because those were like old school cars that were kind of unattainable to me. But that Honda Civic, you know, fuck, dude, there's one behind the house right now. You know what I mean?
I'd still take one of those Toyota Supras.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Even if it looked like that, I'd have to redo it. But fucking, I wouldn't ask any questions.
That part on Fast and Furious when they, you know, pull the junk car in the garage and there's that like that time lapse of them building and all the parts in the ground. It's like, that shit. Still, when I watch, I'm like, fuck yeah, that looks fun. Because that's this right here. That's this shop right now. These parts, and you start to assemble the bike or whatever. That's that same vibe and feel.
Yeah, they definitely did a good job of like nailing, like, at least in those, you know, it's gotten fucking wild now. You know, they're traveling across the world doing international crime shit. You know, who knows what they're doing?
Jumping cars off cliffs.
Cliffs the rocks in there. You know, but
it's ridiculous.
Like number one, fucking dude, that movie's like, they did a fucking fantastic job of like catching
it at the right time too.
Yeah, exactly. Like timing couldn't have been better, and they like really, like you said, like caught the feel and like it like struck a chord with people, like like people of that, like, you know, people who are, you know, kind of like, you know, blue collar, like normal people saw that shit and they're like, oh fuck, like I can relate to this, like this is actually fucking cool, you know. And they fucking did a fantastic job. Like timing was impeccable with that movie.
Side note on all that, I had no idea like the following, like I did, but I didn't. But like our helper Jose, he came in and he was fucking talking about something, but he showed me Call like a picture of Call of Duty. No,
that's all you ever fucking talked about.
No, he was showing me a picture of a car or whatever, and the license plate frame says "Tuna No Crust," and I had no idea. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that is from that movie. Yeah. And then it just turned into like a joke. So like every time he like, hey, what do you think about that? I'm like, oh, you know, like tuna no crust. It just was like the joke. But like that's like a thing. Like that's like the catchphrase of like car dudes now.
Cool shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, what we do is kind of like what you said a while ago. We do that every time we go ride, and like we get out the bike and like, dude, man, I almost had you on that corner. Like, dude, you never had your bike. We do that shit all the time, man.
You never had me. You never had your bike.
Yeah. Double clutching, not
granny shifting, whatever the fuck he said. Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should have been. Or, I'm gonna quote it wrong for sure, but
I always quote it wrong too. But you know, people get what I'm going. They catch my drift. You know what I mean?
For sure. That fucking movie, dude. Man.
But yeah, like I said, it's like those kind of things came out. You know, if I was 4 years younger, that wouldn't have resonated to me because I wouldn't be driving. I wouldn't work in a body shop. So I'm actually, once again, it's making cars cool to me now. Because I grew up playing sports, so I didn't give a shit about cars. I just had to go work in the shop because my dad wanted free labor. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, he's like, yep, well,
and look at you now.
You're coming with me today.
Yep.
Yeah, because like I was the opposite. I didn't play any sports at all, really. I was always into, you know, my dad got me on a motorcycle young, so like anytime I had free time, I'm like, yo, I want to go ride my bike, or I want to go race, or I want to go do this. Like I kind of grew up like in a motorsports kind of setting. And like people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play football. I'm like,
yeah,
so like I'm good, I'm good, you know. But I always thought that, you know, that shit was lame in comparison.
Yeah, I grew up in a.
Well, Texas, fuck. I mean, that's football. Like, well, you know,
I played basketball. Over there, right? You know, I played basketball. I was in more. You know, my school was much. It was like predominantly black. And so, you know, you kind of had to fit in, you know, like me and my buddy were talking the other day at bike night because he's from Minnesota, but we're kind of the same age and we kind of have a very similar upbringing. He's like, you know, we're like the original Wiggers, right? You know what I mean? Like we're the originals. Now kids just call it swag, like when they dress black or act black or whatever you want to call it. It's like, but we were.
Yeah, back then it was different. Like it wasn't viewed the same as it is now.
Exactly. So it's, you know, we were talking about it. I was like, yeah, man, you're right, man. Like, we paved the way for all these kids to have cool swag now.
Yeah. That's funny.
That is fucking funny.
But yeah. But, you know, so, like, working at West Coast Choppers, like, what was that vibe like? What was it like being around something so like heavily famous at that time. You know what I mean? Especially in motorcycles.
Yeah, I mean, I came in kind of late to the game, so I missed all like the no love parties and like all the cool stuff that happened.
Yeah,
I mean, I was just stoked to just be there. Honestly,
I'm going to interrupt and touch on something important here. He did meet America's sweetheart Sandra Bullock, though.
I did
on numerous occasions.
She's
so
she's
that that's one win for this situation.
You know, like in movies, like she's hot, but in real life, she's like really hot.
Yeah.
So and then he had to go ahead and ruin that.
But no, it was really cool working there. I mean, everybody. It's just I tell people they're like, oh, what's it like? And I'm like, dude, it's literally the best of the best in one building.
Mm-hmm.
And
he tells me stories about it, and it's like he has all the fucking best tools and all the best shit. And I'm like, can you imagine what that would be like? Like that would be so nice. We had everything brand new and like every fucking machine and every tool we needed to do everything. Fucking
well,
Christ,
when I started there, they like I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't allowed, but like the fab area and that was like all like kind of off limits. Not off limits to anyone, but it was just like, hey. You know, if you don't know how to use the tool, don't use it. And when I got it, when I went in there, I didn't know anything. Like fabrication, I'm like, okay. I would try to do things, but I just kind of snuck in there and started using stuff because I'm like, this is all at my disposal. I want to learn how to do this. Yeah. And but everybody, I mean, I worked next to Aki from Hog Killers. He taught me a lot. Many people. Yeah. Rockabilly J, he did like. He did mock-up and like he would set the whole bike up, tear it apart and send this and that out for coating, and he would drill all the holes in the frame for wiring, whatever, and he taught me how to use the lathe. Mm-hmm. So he was like, you're probably going to have to do this, so here's how you use the lathe. Don't get your hand caught, whatever. Mm-hmm. Just be careful.
Don't wear long sleeves.
But literally everything that I know today is from working there. So like... If it wasn't for West Coast Choppers, I wouldn't be anywhere. So thank you WCC for all my training.
It definitely would have been a killer experience regardless of anything.
Yeah, it was fun because we, like the first week I started, Jesse's assistant was walking around and was like, hey, he's doing outlaw racing at Irwindale or whatever. You want tickets, and everybody's over it. Like everybody's just like,
gone
whatever.
All those times.
They didn't want to go to anything, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah, I want 4. So we went, and then we're sitting down, whatever, and then Jesse and Sandra were in there, whatever, and we got to watch him do outlaw racing. It was my first week, on the job, and I'm like, this is rad. And I was there for 2.5, I think 3 years, and I boomeranged back a couple times. I left when I had my first kid, because me and my manager at the time didn't see eye to eye on me taking time, like just a day off to see my kid being born. He got mad at me. And I'm like, dude, if this is how it's going to be, I'm just going to leave. And then I got called back.
I said, where'd you go work after that?
Some little shop in Santa Clarita.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You were telling me about that.
It was just a like mom and pop shop. I just got it just to, have
something to do.
And then I got called back like a month later and went back, and then got laid off, got called back again, and then that's when they closed the doors. And I was like the last. I wasn't the very last group of people. I was like the second to last because they laid me off because I was making too much money. Mm-hmm. So the dude that worked next to me, he obviously stayed because he was making less. Mm-hmm. So he was lower on the totem pole, I guess. But yeah, no, it was rad working there for sure.
So what were you doing basically after the West Coast Chopper stint? Like, how did you? I mean, what was the motivation to start Track or Die though? Like after that?
It was a while. It was a while after that. I think I left. I think the last time I worked at West Coast Choppers was like,
that's probably 10 years, right? Like
like
it was
like 2000. No, it was earlier than that because let's see, my oldest daughter's 13. She was born.
Year is it?
She was born in 07. Mm-hmm. 07 was the last year. I think that's, and then they closed in like 08, I believe, something like that. So when I left West Coast Choppers, where did I go after that? After I left, so while I was working at West Coast Choppers, the second time I came back, Scott from Noise, T-Bone, he was working there. and I saw his bike and whatever, and we became really good friends because we were both straight edge, both into like the same kind of bikes and whatever. And so I think after I left West Coast, I think I went, man, I don't even remember.
Falcon?
It's been a lot. Maybe Falcon Motorcycles. I think I had some odd jobs. I was an electrician for a little while, like apprenticing, and I hated that.
Yeah.
I always like tried to like do things that were good for my family, and I always came back to bikes because I'm like, this is what I know.
Terrible
like,
idea for your family.
What?
Bikes.
The bikes, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm going to go be a bike mechanic. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Way to go. Yeah. But I always just boomerang back to it. But while we were working at West Coast Choppers, me and T-Bone, we hit it off. He was working out of his garage. I would go over there and help him do things, whatever, on the side.
Yeah.
And then when I left there, he left at the same time. I stored my toolbox at a buddy's house, like down the street from him.
Yeah.
And I would just go there. And at the time I was living in Santa Clarita, so the commute was really stupid. It was like an hour and a half all the way, down to Orange County.
Yeah.
But I'd go there every day and go help him with whatever he needed. So I learned a lot from him. Then after that, from knowing him, he got a job at Falcon, and he was like, hey, we need like a couple days. We just need somebody to come in and like help move stuff, maybe do some stuff on the lathe. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went down there to Falcon Motorcycles, which was downtown LA.
That one was wild.
I walk in this building and I'm like, what in the world? And it was just like, it was like an industrial building, but there was a house on the back, huge. And we built like $100,000 British bikes, and they're insane. All handmade.
Every bolt. 6
people for a year working nonstop on one bike.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, which is wild.
It's gnarly. We built a Vincent Black Shadow. We did a Triumph that was like, I think it was a pre-unit Triumph. Then everything's handmade. Like like I was in charge of making all the bolts. So we made everything out of stainless, used like all these crazy castle nuts. Everything was handmade. I even made like the adjusters on the throttle cables that go in like all and out of brass, and was using like all kinds of like stuff.
So you were like making actual motorcycle parts,
like making everything, literally everything but the tires. We made the rims, we made the frame, we made everything.
The shit still comes in handy because we'll be doing something one day and he's like, oh, I used to make some shit like this. I'm gonna whip this up real fast.
And like all stainless.
Yeah.
I hate stainless.
An incredibly fun material to work with.
They're like, hey, let's make these out of stainless. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll just make them out of aluminum. It's fine. But me and stainless is, I learned a lot. That's for sure.
You learn how to machine on stainless.
But so I worked there. I worked there for like a year, I think. And then after that, I went back and I worked actually, no. In between there, I went to a shop in LA. My buddy Koski, he had Sunrise Cycles in Los Feliz. I worked for him for about a year. And then he went back to Japan. And then I went back and worked with Scott, and he was like, hey, I'm going to go full bore. I'm going to open my shop. So then I was there full time doing whatever. We did those couple Born Free bikes that we did. I did a lot of like the same stuff I was doing at Falcon, like making all like the little internal throttles and just any little part on that bad boy. Yeah, right there. That's the same.
We
lathe.
bought Scott's old lathe, so it's on that one actually.
That's cool. I just made all that stuff. I was with Scott for I think a year on my own, and then I kind of started doing my own thing, kind of sorta, because he didn't have. We just weren't busy enough to keep me busy. So like I rented part of his shop and started doing bikes on my own. And nothing like fabrication. I was doing like wiring, like old chopper wiring with like the cloth wiring, and getting all like detailed with it, and doing, just setting stuff up, getting bikes running basically. Yeah. And I was more on the mechanical side, so it worked better because Scott was good at fabrication. He knows how to do like some motor work and some but I've always been good at like getting stuff running proper, whatever, just kind of winging it, figuring it out. Yeah, mechanical side of things.
But you picked up a lot of the fabrication side and the manufacturing side of it as well.
So in all that, getting to see all, I work with Brandon that used to own Mullins Chain Drive. That dude is like probably in my mind one of the most talented dudes I've ever seen. Like do anything.
He went to like what is it, like Sweden or Switzerland?
Yeah,
or
he just moved back. He's in.
Did he really?
I don't know where he's at now, but he's somewhere in the Midwest doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. But he's just. I would help him do these long panels at West Coast Choppers. And he was like using the shrinker stretcher, which I still don't understand how to do.
Yeah.
But I just hold the panel and watch him do his thing, and just picking up all the little things and little tricks.
That's like sheet metal, right?
That was sheet metal.
Sheet metal's a fucking art, man.
Yeah.
That shit's crazy.
I just recently started doing like little things here and there, and it's fun. It's not as hard as I thought. Like it's hard, but it's once you start doing it, you're like, oh, okay.
You understand it more. Yeah.
But when you see people like doing the shit that they do with it,
some of the gnarly stuff, like using the pole max and all that,
and like building like car panels and stuff. It's just
they call like the reverse curve, where it's curved this way, but then it curves that way.
Oh yeah, it's a trip, man.
But then they'll make that first curve, and then they'll do the second curve, and then the first curve will go away. Then they have to go back and get that curve back, and it's all about like doing all this stuff, like getting the material to shrink and stretch and do its thing. That's what I don't understand.
All the while still being like not fucked up.
Yeah.
Smooth.
I'd always feel like it'd probably be, because you see like a lot of people start with hammering something into like a bag, basically, and like making, say, a side of a tank. It's like, oh, I could probably see that and shrink and make it curved and do that. But how the fuck am I going to make a matching one for the other side?
And a mirrored side too.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, you just did that for Will or whatever the other day. Yeah, we did those tanks or whatever.
We did some like
they came out good.
We took some like Fat Bob tanks and
narrowed them. Oh, for
and like made them made them like more Frisco, and took all like this stock inside panel
like
out,
the tunnel out and shit,
and then made like a new tunnel. And I was at
came
first
out good.
I was very intimidated, and then by the time we were done, I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like it's so it was fun.
So when doing all these, I mean, it seems like you had the perfect kind of career path, like literally like going from one college to the next, learning different parts of this industry. You know what I mean? From the assemble to the dealership level to all the big shops.
Totally by accident, but
just kind of fell into place.
Looking back, I'm like very, very grateful for every experience I've had, because I've learned so much. And if, like I tell everybody, if it wasn't for West Coast Choppers, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So
yeah, for sure. Same thing. I in that time frame, we did production paint, so I was able to get pretty decent at it pretty quick, because every day I was doing a new chopper tank with a new, theme to it. Right. It's not shit I would ever want to do ever again in my life, but doing that shit every day made it to where
good stepping stones.
Well, it's all experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, where else are you going to get to airbrush every day?
You got to walk before you run,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely like, getting your beginnings in something, walking before you run sort of thing, paying your dues, and like you got to do that shit that you don't want to do to be able to get through it. And like, because if you just jump straight to the top, I mean, you're not going to have respect for what it is to not, you're able to do all this custom cool shit now and like offer people this like awesome service that you can do. But if that's all you started doing, you wouldn't have known what it was like to go through the shit and like trudge through all the work that you didn't want to do to like respect where you're at.
Yeah.
And that's how people get fucking, their perception gets skewed on things. You got to pay your dues. And
there's so many people that were a part of that era when the chopper shit was booming and people were doing all these production built motorcycles.
Oh yeah, post-economic crash, dude. It was nuts.
Yeah, from these paint shops like Dino's out in Phoenix used to be like 15 airbrush artists and 10 people that just cleared, and
insane.
Like just the amount of work that was just going out in the country was insane. We had a Iron Horse Motorcycles was in our backyard in Dallas or in Fort Worth, and I never worked there, but so many people were on the same thing on an assembly line doing pinstriping or flames or one-off airbrush, or one dude's a buffer,
Could you imagine that's your job? You just paint flames all day?
Yeah.
Fucking, I'd be fun for a while, but
yeah, definitely.
I think I'd lose it after a bit.
You get real good at it.
Yeah, and then you're like, the same tank over and over and over. And it's like, man, I want to really do a different flame job on this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like you can try and do something different, because you're making them production, so they're all the same.
Yeah.
So you're like painting the same fucking flames.
What was cool about it though, it was like that era of the motorcycle thing, it wasn't so production that it became a machine's job. It was still handmade shit. I'm sure that the tanks and things like that got mass produced, but like the paint job was still handmade. It wasn't a sticker that they put on. the frames were still getting painted. You know what I mean? Like all that shit was still happening by workers on an assembly line. You know what I mean? But as you get closer to the point of opening this, like, what was the bike life like for you? I mean, working on it, I get it, but what was your position, yours as well, as riding bikes, and what kind of bikes were you into during all these processes?
We didn't even have bikes for a while.
Yeah, we didn't have bikes for a long time.
I had one, and we like I know him too. He fucking didn't even have a bike when I met him. I had a Sportster that I rode everywhere. That was the only thing. I didn't have a car. I just had a Sportster, and I had a 1200S that I rode fucking everywhere. And I ended up, he had this like van that he had a car before that, and when I met him, he had this van. And then the transmission went out, and he had kids and shit. And it was like, he was a single dad just doing his thing. Like, I had the bike, and then his transmission like blew, and like between him and I, we didn't have the money to fix it. So I ended up trading my Sportster for a truck, and then we just shared the truck. And like him and I would just drive the truck, and like he'd use it to take his daughter to school. Then we go to the shop, and we just shared this truck. And that was the only vehicle we had for a while. And then we got him like this shitty Honda Civic that he had for a little bit that blew up. And like, it was just kind of like,
Then I got a Volkswagen that I sold to get the Honda, I think, and that blew up.
Oh yeah, the little Golf GTI thing. Yeah,
a lot of little like beater vehicles in between.
He bought like this Golf GTI thing off a buddy that blew up, and then we bought the fucking like Honda Civic. We drove to like Phelan or some shit. Like, we're just like driving into the desert, dirt roads for forever. I'm like, I feel like we're not where we should be, but we ended up finding this guy and bought this Honda Civic for like $600. Like we were literally like, when him and I first got together and started doing this, like we were literally at like ground zero. Like we were wrenching on shit. Before Steve and I met, I was like sharing a shop with this guy that I knew that I like found out. So like one of my buddies at the time like found some dude on Craigslist to buy some bars off of, and the guy was gonna like custom build him a set of bars. Well, I happened to go with him, and like I hit it off with the dude who built him the bars, and we become friends. And then I'm like slowly like moving out of what I was doing and into like trying to do my own thing on motorcycles. So I start renting I start like splitting the back side of the shop with this dude and kind of doing my thing there. And that's where I was when I met Steve. And then Steve had kind of came there with me for a little bit, and then we moved out here like to the IE to Eastville, and we moved into like a townhome up the way. And we had a 1-car garage that we did everything in. And we had one lift in this 1-car garage, and that's what we did. Fuck, dude. At one point we had like 3 110s, 2 110s, and like fucking 6 bikes. Like, that thing was jam packed. And like, luckily we kind of made friends with one of the guys there that worked there when we got the place. So he kind of like turned the other eye to us, like doing what we were doing and like kind of working out of that. Yeah. Cause like we had too much shit there to like really pass it off. Like, we had to put shit outside. Like, there had to be like, we had to like push projects and shit out. And it's like, luckily, even if someone did have something to say about us making noise or whatever, like, they didn't really do much because we kind of knew the people there, luckily. But like, when we were there, it was like, bro, we're like, I don't know how the fuck, hopefully a job comes in. Like, we don't know how we're going to pay rent or how we're going to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, we were having all we could do to pay our bills, let alone buy a car or some shit. So we just shared this truck and we made it work, luckily, so it was interesting. Things were interesting for a while.
I think, I don't know, when did we get our personal bikes? Because we didn't have anything.
Yeah, after that Sporty, I didn't have anything for a little while, probably a couple years. Because, like at that point, I had that truck and that was kind of all we had. And then we, so like his car, we just had the truck. And then he had gotten a car while I still had the truck. And then the car blew up. And then I bought the van that we have now, one of the Ford van. I bought like one of those little tiny Ford like Transit Connect ones. Yeah, bro, I stuffed so many motorcycles in the back of that motherfucker.
Yeah, those are awesome. I miss that van.
I have no idea how I fit the shit in there that I fit in there, but I would, I'd like go to somebody's house to pick some shit up, and we'd like drop the front end like all the way down on the fork, so it would like be shorter, and stuff this thing in the back so the bars. Oh, bro, it was push the seat all the way forward and stuff the like tire like into the door, like between the seat and the door. And so we had that in the truck. And then we ended up getting the like Dodge ProMaster that we still have now. And I traded in the little van for it. And then, I sold the truck to put the down payment on that truck or on that van. And then when we got the Sprinter, I sold I traded in the little van to get the Sprinter. But like, I think even we had bikes when we still had the ProMaster. Because but it was one of those things where when we went across the country, I went and bought 2 FXRs off a buddy in Chicago. And that was where I got mine with the purple frame, and that was where his was bone stock. Mine was already like twin cammed with the frame in it and everything. Nice. And then when I got it back here, I tore it down and just redid everything. But I already, I got there and like I had no intention of buying that bike. I went there specifically to buy his. Yeah. And like I just was the whole time I'm driving across the country to go to Lowbrow's. We were going to Ohio to go to the Fuel Cleveland for the first time. Yeah. And I was the whole time like it was me and my chick driving out there because she works for us too, and she was helping out with everything, and her and I would go do the shows like away from home, and her and I were driving, and she was driving at that point like, and I was cruising Craigslist like looking for something to pick up because I wanted to flip something. Yeah. So I was looking for FXRs because everyone knows in mid California nobody wants to pay the California prices for shit. So we were driving across, and I hit up this dude that had one in Chicago because I knew we were going to be close, and I found one as a good deal. It was like $4,000 or something for like a Cherry, like 92
FXRS.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not non-convertible, just a lowrider, just a lowrider. And I hit this dude up. I typed the number in my phone, and it pops up as somebody I'd already talked to before. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So I start flipping back, and I realize it's a buddy that I know from going out there, like to Mama Tried and stuff in Milwaukee, is someone I'd met, and he was in Chicago. So I cruise up there to go grab it, drive straight to this dude's house. I remember brushing my teeth in the middle of the street outside his house after I slept there for like an hour, when we got there, because we got into Chicago real early, and then I go over to his spot and go check it out, and the bike's rad, so I'm going to take that one. I'm like, yo, what's going on with the one with the purple frame? I'd already seen it. He's like, oh, I'm trying to sell it. He's like, all these people in California want it, but they don't want to take it. Like, they don't want to pay to ship it. I'm like, fuck, man. I was like, tell somebody if they want to buy it, like, I'll bring it back for like a delivery fee. I'm like, I'm already going back anyway. And then him and I get to talking. I'm like, what are you asking for it anyway? And he told me, and I'm like, bro, I'm just going to buy that fucking thing. Because, like, I can't build the bike for that price. I was like, if I bought a bike and then bought a motor and did everything, I'm like, I can't build it for that price.
Yeah, twin cam, right?
Yeah. So I was like, I'll just take it off. Like, I'll just buy it, and then I can have a good, base to start. Because if I was going to buy one in twin cam myself, I'd have been into it further than I was into that one. So I was like, fuck it, even if I have to redo a lot of it, like, there's, it's still got more money in parts than
it's got a good base. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I'm going to spend more in parts to get it where it is than anything. So I picked that up, and we brought it back, and we kind of, I kind of put my spin on things and redid things. And those are the bikes we still have now. Mine's fucking blowing up, waiting on a motor.
Both
and
of them
Steve's is in pieces, waiting on, I don't even know right now, but that's getting redone.
The cream frame.
Yeah. But, yeah, dude, for a good while, we didn't even have bikes. And our friends used to always make fun of us. They're like, how you can work on bikes and not have bikes? And it's like, I don't know, that was the hustle, bro. Like, everything we had and every dollar we had, every dollar we made, like, went back into making things and doing what we could do and fucking getting by, So
sacrifice. You did it at the right time.
Kind of one of the things you got to do,
at that time you were doing that, just thinking back, it was like the rest of the country wasn't quite on board with all the shit that was about to happen with Dynas and flat track and all the FXR shit. So
yeah, because that's definitely what we were doing in the beginning. Like, that's what, when him and our buddy came up with the name, that was what it was. Like, they were doing like the tracker thing. That's where it all came from.
Yeah.
And it was like a play on the whole like skater die, like kind of thrasher deal, and like they came up with tracker die. It just kind of had a ring to it,
Fuck, I remember skater die.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Looking back on shit is wild, right? But so that's kind of how the name came about, because we did trackers, and then it's kind of just like a play on words with that. And we did the tracker thing for a while. Like, it was hot for a while. I mean, people still do it, but we don't hardly do any of them anymore. Yeah. Like, that's not really what we're doing anymore. But that's obviously where the name came from, and kind of stuck with it now. So it just is what it is. But it's like you say, you're not in the flat track thing, and it's like you weren't or whatever, but the flat track thing was a part of it for a while, but like, I'd say we never really did that much flat track shit for people. Yeah. As much as we were doing it for ourselves, for the racing and all that. Cause like, I was racing at the time, and like, we were doing it for our buddy who was racing, and like, that was kind of, we were helping support his race team. And then like, I like raced on his race team, and like got to do a bunch of fun shit like that. Like, we went to X Games, like I was saying, and that was a trip and a half. Like, I remember, dude, we were at X Games, and you know how it is in Texas. Like, the weather comes out of nowhere, and we're in Austin, and we're just like hanging out, cruising. We were watching like Big Air or like Half Pipe or some shit. We're like sitting there in the lawn, and we're watching, and it was it was a fucking trip, right? And then all of a sudden it just gets real dark and like all these sirens start going off, like, and everyone's like, yeah, you got to go inside, like everyone fucking get out of here.
That's probably, it like rarely happens like that, but yeah,
it was wild,
happen.
Bro. Like it was like some of the gnarliest rain I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And because we were athletes technically, because like we were there racing flat track at that like exhibition that they did in X Games a few years back. That was my brief stint as a, I always wanted to be a professional, like, motocross racer or whatever. And obviously that didn't happen, but that was my brief stint as a professional athlete right there. I had one weekend of glory, but, we were athletes, right? So we got to go in the athlete lounge and like hang out there while this storm was happening. And I'm like looking around at everybody that's in there and I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, this is like every dude that I looked up to in like the motocross industry as a child, like they're all here. Yeah. It was a trip. Right. So, but I don't know how I even got on topic of that. Oh, so yeah, the whole tracker thing, we were doing flat track to like support our own habits really. Yeah. But I can't say that we built a ton of flat track bikes for people just because it wasn't that popular. We definitely helped people out with them a lot, but we were doing a lot of like builds of other shit. Like we built quite a few like just like complete tracker builds, but we were kind of just taking on anything like, oh fuck my, we were kind of just still job shopping it then too. Like, oh yeah, like you guys have a shop, my transmission's giving me issues. Like, can you guys help me? Like, yeah. And Steve and I were the only two, and him and I were both wrenching, and we were renting out this back half of like how big was that spot? It was probably like 1,700 square foot total. And we were renting like a third of it from this older guy who wasn't using it. And he always fucking, he was so happy the day it came down. It's like the fucking, what is it, like the Berlin Wall or whatever? And like when that came down, like when we took down this tarp, he was like so fucking happy. Oh, yeah. Because like we had it partitioned off basically because this dude had a bunch of shit in the back, but it was like, we didn't get the whole back of the shop. We had like, I think he had like 2/3 of it.
The back 10 feet.
So we put we like hung a tarp from the roof to like kind of keep it separate. Yeah. And it was this big blue tarp and it was just terrible. It was like a big blue wall. And like older pictures, like you could see it and it sucked. But then, as time went on, he needed less space. And then we ended up buying, what we did is we like finally scraped enough cash together to buy some pallet racking. And then we stuffed all his shit in these pallet racks and took over the rest of the spot. Yeah. That was a fucking story in itself. Cause some of those, he did like, abrasive media, like sandblasting media and like tumbling media and like all this shit, and the pallets were heavy, and we fucking stuck one in the top of this, like we borrowed a forklift from one of the neighbors and like stuck a pallet up there, and I swear you could like hear the beam on that like pallet rack like ready to like crash down at any minute. Every day, dude, we'd be in there and you would hear something and we'd turn around all crazy like, oh fuck, like is now gonna be the time that this thing comes down. I never did fall. But we were in there and we were just kind of doing anything that we could do to get by, and that was kind of when we started doing a bit of our own thing as far as parts are concerned. That was
I wanted to get into that because it seems like a lot of the parts that you guys have are the parts that you created because of actually riding them.
That's definitely a lot of shit, for sure. For the most part, that's kind of what I try to do. Like when we were coming up with stuff, it's always like, I'm not setting out to do something that someone else already did unless it's like kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's like getting in the podcast space. Like don't do it unless you're going to do it better than somebody else. So it's like if I'm going to come up with something that's existing already, I'm not going to do it just to have a design tweak on somebody's already existing part. Like, there's a reason why there's some things we haven't come out with. It's because like I don't want to come out with just another piece, like just another, here's another foot peg or here's another this. It's a different design. It looks cool, whatever.
We were going to do risers a while back, and then we started looking at, we had like the design, we had everything like ready to go, and then we just looked at the market. I
snoozed on it and
we snoozed on it, but we looked at the market and was like, there's like so many riser companies. Risers. There's just like
too many.
And
that's what
everyone has them.
Yeah.
So we kind of just didn't do it because it's like everybody, there's enough meat for everybody to eat in here, but there's no need to come out with something just because. Just for us looking at the market. Like, why do we need to come up with a riser when somebody already does it and they're cool and we run them on people's stuff?
On anybody's toes.
We're just trying to do our own little niche thing. Like we're not trying to freaking reinvent the wheel because everything's been done.
Yeah, and there's definitely some stuff that we've done that has been done, but like I like to think that if it is something like that we've definitely
like the suspension parts that you guys make, that's one of the things that Harley used to have,
right?
But doesn't have.
Yeah,
anymore.
It's not like we fucking and everybody and it's funny, dude. Like that's actually one of the things that I've been like CAD designing was like I've been drawing up like an entire front end to explain to people how they work, because everyone asks me questions like, oh, how did the dampers work? Like, oh, do I need longer tubes? Do I need that? I'm like, bro, no. Like, but people like get all crazy with it. I'm like, bro, like it's so simple in like what is actually happening, and you're way overthinking it. Like just take what you're thinking and like dumb it down 10 times. Like this is Harley we're talking about. Like they've been making the same style of motor for fucking forever. Like they don't change things. Like it's so simple, and people try to get all crazy with it and think it's like a cartridge fork that has all this shit going on. And it's like, there's literally like 4 components. Like that's it. There's nothing else there. So I've been making up this little drawing so I can make like a cutaway and like kind of explain how the fuck it works. But like those, I mean, we made ours longer than Harley ever made, but not by a ton.
I mean, in the beginning we were buying FXRP. They're 13 inches long.
No, they're
11.
They're 11, and we started making ours 11 and a half. So like ours are longer, but like I tell people all the time, like, oh, I have an FXR, like I want to put dampers in it. I'm like, unless you know what's in there, I'm like, I'm warning you that if you buy these, like it might only be a half an inch taller. Like it's gonna be taller. Like Harley never made one as long, but if you're expecting to get 2 inches out of your FXR that already has those in it, like you're gonna be bummed to find out you're only gonna get a half an inch. So I try to get people to do their homework on it first, because on something like that, you could obviously figure out which bikes came with it, but when you have a bike from the 90s, like you don't know what the fuck someone did to it. It's like trying to sell, when we sell chain drives for that, people are like, oh, I need a chain drive for like this year. And I'm like, dude, like, that's all great, but like, did the guy before you upgrade the like transmission seal and shit? Because like in like 93, late 93 or whatever it was, they changed the output shaft. So like the main shaft seal changes and the main shaft spacer changes, and you go from having like a thin spline sprocket to a wide spline sprocket. And people always hit me up for chain drives around FXRs of that era, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna send you some parts. Like it's fine, we can do it, but I'm gonna either need to sell you the seal set, or you're gonna have to figure out what you have there, and this might not be the right front sprocket, and we might have to, cross that bridge, because it's one of those things you never know. And it's the same thing with the suspension. It's like, just because you bought a lowrider, which would have came with the shorter dampers than a P or a convertible would have, doesn't mean that it doesn't have them in it because someone didn't change them back in 1996, because who the fuck knows? So until people have pulled it apart, I usually try to tell them to look, because, ours aren't that much longer, because we didn't want to go... I only went a half an inch with them because we didn't want to, like, obviously if Harley can make them at 11 inch, it's going to be safe. So us making them at 11 and a half, it's like a half an inch is going to make or break things here. Bit, so we just went up a little bit just to say that they're longer, and just for them to be a little bit longer, but obviously still be safe enough to run, because obviously, Harley been doing it for so long, and like, fuck, dude, at this point we've put so many miles and so many of those out there and not had issues that, like,
the other thing that you guys got is the case saver. And that was like, seems like something that came out that was kind of like not there was no other option.
There was one dude making them, and like the timing on that happened really, really well, honestly, because I had already decided, like, we put a bunch of them on for people, and we were always putting them on for people, and like I'm looking at it and I'm like, bro, it's just it's like a half piece of pipe with like a pad welded to it, like a metal pad, like an aluminum like square welded to it, and there's like a piece of like Delrin plastic on top welded to it, and it held onto your bike with hose clamps. And like, I get it, the dude was able to make it, and I think he made it on his own, like in his garage, and like that's fucking rad. But we, I can't say that I necessarily came up with the design. Not that it's something crazy, it's just like a bump stop essentially for your motor. But that dude had it already, and I don't remember what it was, like the landing pad. And he had it already, and then my whole thing with that was, I was like, well, I was like, it'd be cool to offer that because a lot of people want him and can't get him because he either wasn't
producing enough.
I found out later that the dude had like a health issue, and that's why he stopped producing them. And I think that when all that was happening, he was like getting orders and people weren't able to get them. So we were getting a lot of people like, oh, hey, can you get those? Can you get this? And I was like, fuck it, dude. Like, we'll just make one. But I was like, if we're going to make it, like, we're going to CNC it, bill it, like make it nice, bolt on, and make it look good. And then it just so happened that like a couple days before we released it, that guy like announced that he wasn't going to make them anymore. Cause like he had like I don't remember if it was like a brain tumor or cancer or what it was, but he had something like detrimental happening and he wasn't able to put the time into it, which is unfortunate. Like I hope he's doing well. I can't say that I know the guy or anything about it, but it just, the timing on it just worked out well, where like right when he stopped making it, we started making it, and it was almost like it was like planned, but it wasn't. And you know, so I can't really take credit on that one. You know, we kind of just, again, took a design like that and like just made it more attractive, and, you know, just innovated on it and kind of added things to it that we wanted to, you know, problems that we had using it in the past, like, oh, it'd be cool if it did this, it'd be cool if it did that, it'd be cool if it was like this. So we kind of tweaked it and made it our own, and that became a, you know, a big thing that we started selling too, and it worked out. And even that, I mean, from when we came out with it to now, I mean, we've changed it, you know, at least a few times, like the design of it and everything, and I'm way happier with it now than I was back then, even though the ones back then weren't bad either. But
yeah, it seems like a lot of the parts, like even the other ones that you guys that's on your website, it seems like the kind of parts that you would, while you're riding, you're kind of always looking for that next thing that could change or make it better, or make it more user friendly and things like that.
Yeah, it's generally because we fuck shit up. Really, like, you know, something happens and then we're like, oh, okay, cool. Let's like, what can we do to fix that? You know, and that's kind of where they all came from. I mean, I feel like that's where all the best things come from, though. You know, it's just like anything else. If you set out to make money specifically, you can't say you're going to necessarily be extremely successful. But if you set out to solve someone's problems, or if you set out to solve a problem or an issue, or like come up with a solution to something, you know, the fucking sales will come. You know, we're not coming out with something to try and be like the next big best thing. It's just like, oh fuck, like we have a problem with this breaking or this doing this, so it's like, what can we do to negate that?
Well, it's like when we had 39 millimeter dampers for a long time, and then we looked at each other and like, why don't we make them for 49s? Because the new Dynas, like when the new Dynas started getting popular, you know, there was a need. There was people putting big shocks in the rear and then buying like, you know, $400 tubes that were longer, but not getting any suspension in it. It was just making it longer.
A cosmetic,
and not making it ride any better. So, and we already knew that the dampers for 39s work killer, and they're, I mean, it's the best. It's the best ride. You know, not just because we make it. It's just it fucking rides, you know, way better.
Without dropping a cartridge in there, it's definitely the best thing you're gonna do for that front end. And that, with the cartridges, it's like I don't know why a lot of people with the cartridges don't offer longer options, because the nice part about doing the dampers is you get a little bit more stroke. So, you know, your suspension travel is actually increasing the same amount as your height. So, because what you're doing is it's like taking your shock and like extending the shock shaft and body. So like you're basically giving yourself an additional, you know, if you're going up 2 inches, you're getting 2 more inches of travel as well. So it helps your suspension by not bottoming out as easy, obviously. It's
good because I mean, I'm glad you're saying this, because I didn't even really know, you know, just adding longer tubes and doing this, like to get that, everybody wants a taller bike, and you know, for
and
riding.
It does that, and you don't touch the ground anymore. You know, you get that ground clearance you're after, but your suspension in theory will be absolutely no different than it was before. It's going to ride the same way. You know, it's going to, you know, if you had 6 inches of travel before, you're still going to have 6 inches of travel. Whereas if you go to a longer damper, now you have 2 inches of height, but you also have 8 inches of travel. So and that's like exactly that is why I'm going to make this like what I'm making, just to kind of like have a visual, because once people can like see it, it will make sense.
I feel like suspension on Harleys, or just suspension in general, it's easy to have a lot of snake oil salesmen because no one really understands it very well.
Right, which is crazy, because like, let me tell you that the Harley front end, like the cartridge, or not cartridge, the damper style front end is the same as this 110. Like the 110 has a damper front end, literally the same thing, smaller. So that's like the technology. Well, it's in a child's like motorcycle.
Didn't the idea come
in KX65s and shit like that? Like all and inverted bikes without cartridges, like back in the day too. But like those bikes still have them, and like KX65s to this day still have them. KLX 110s still have them. It's like compared to a cartridge, it's a very like simple design. It's simple and it works. You don't have the tunability of a cartridge, and you don't necessarily have the, you know, dampening and the like the plushness that you can get out of a cartridge, but it also costs you 1/10 of the price. And that's the way Harley makes it. So unless, you know, if you're not trying to drop $1,400 on some Öhlins cartridges, it's kind of the best thing you can do. And like, I can't even say that I've put enough seat time on an Öhlins to know if I'm sold on it yet or not, because I'm a firm believer on the fact that like, you can only do so much without changing Harley geometry. to like really get the suspension going well. And I know people have done some great things like with the suspension, like they've made these bikes like as good as they can be.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're at a point now where it's like the only way it's going to get better is if you start tweaking your geometry on the frame.
Well, I would say that with all the racing that's starting to really happen for the street and road bikes, that, you know, we were just having this conversation last night too, but we're still young and it's still very early on and young for Harley. You know, like sport bikes have been tweaking their shit for 30, 40 years to get to where they're at now with the technology. But, you know, these bikes are way heavier. You know, braking is going to take a while for every braking company out there to really get their shit dialed in for track use. Suspension, the same thing. You know, these bikes are very heavy and we're completely doing shit on that they weren't intended to be done.
Exactly. And that's what it is, because it's not that the, you know, sport bike companies have necessarily been around longer, because Harley's obviously been around for quite some time now.
Yeah.
But it's like they never had a need. Like you said, like until recent, you know, like we were kind of like on the forefront of people doing what they were doing with their Sportsters and shit, and like taking them off road. And not to say that we're the first people that ever did it, but like when that became a little bit more known, like we were some of the people in the beginning doing that shit and like racing them on flat track and all that. Like we were in like the group of people that was kind of in the forefront of making that popular. Yeah. And then like we were kind of with it with the Dyna thing too, like helping people get like with that whole thing. Not to say that we, you know, club style had been around for so long, but for it to become like such a mainstream thing for people to want that like tall, skinny, fast bike, we were kind of right there with that too. And it's like you said, it's like there hasn't been a need for them to develop that for those kinds of bikes because nobody was doing it. Like, you know, back when everyone's just, it's like you said, the hell yeah brother guys, dude. It's like they were just hopping on their bike and cruising to Sturgis and they didn't give a fuck. They just wanted to go look cool with their friends and have a loud bike, and they didn't give a shit if it was fast or if it, you know, ran well. They just knew that it was a fucking Harley, which made them cool.
Well, it's like I've been trying to explain to people, you know, when it comes to, you know, what a performance bagger is to me is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and your bike's fucking bad.
I rode it across country and then I unloaded my shit and I went and rode canyons yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what it's about. Really.
And then this morning I threw my shit back on the bike, and then I came here.
Because it's fun and it's functional.
Yeah, it's like you get this modular bike basically that does this, and this, and you get it with Dynas and FXRs as well. But like I said, right now it's so early on with the racing aspect of Harleys, right? I mean, you had the XR 1200. They've had the Buell shit.
Yeah, they did all that spec shit, the racing back in the day. But like you said,
But we fell in love with the way Harleys look, and now we want that look and that performance.
Right. Yeah. Trying to meld the two together, you know, because it's like that. Harley's been around for forever, but they never had a reason to develop better brakes or better suspension because nobody ever fucking cared. Yeah. They were selling the bikes to people and they didn't give a shit like if it had suspension or not. They just wanted a fucking American Harley and they wanted to have that Harley. Yeah. You know? And now people are like getting into Harleys and they're like, yo, why does this bike have to run like shit? Or why does it have to ride like shit? Like, how can I make it better? And now everybody, you know, all the companies out and all the people involved, they're all trying to make the bike have that Harley like nostalgia and feel and thing that everybody wants, but also like not fucking ride like shit and not beat you to death and actually perform. And it's rad to see it all coming together because things have, you know, just in the past 5 years have come leaps and big bounds from where they were, you know. And
it doesn't even seem like that. Like 5 years ago when you guys were still grinding, pulling the shit, like it's happened so much quicker. Like the scene's evolved and I don't feel like it's going away in any kind of way, any kind of aspect, but
it just keeps moving
into
different
evolving.
Trends.
It's like, you know what I mean?
The whole Dyna thing, you know, baggers are coming up. That's next. Once everyone who has a Dyna, because I feel like the whole like we were in the sporty thing and it's like people couldn't afford much for a Harley, so they got Sportsters. Yeah. And then like those people with Sportsters got a little bit older and made a little bit more money, and then they could afford a Dyna. And then they're gonna get a little bit older and they're gonna buy a bagger.
Well,
and then they're
gonna
build a fucking.
Everybody that had a Dyna is getting a bagger.
Yeah, Softail or a bagger. It's just like the natural progression of things is like to move into that.
Well, when the Softails came out, I mean, everybody remembers the internet at that time.
Everybody's talking shit until they rode one.
Yeah, and then you know, like I said, they rode it, and then now it's, you know, a lot of my close friends ride the Softails.
They're nice bikes. We have one. I don't like the way it's set up, so I don't personally like riding it that much. Just because I'd have to throw too much shit on it to like get it set up the way I want. And I don't know that we even want it, so we might end up getting rid of it and trade it in and get something else or whatever. Get like a S or a bagger or some shit. I don't know yet. But fuck, I don't even hardly ride the thing. One of our buddies, I think, has rode it more than either one of us. And but it's a, you know, hopping on that bike if you could like ride a bike that's built, like has a lot of good parts on it, and you could hop on one of those that's relatively stock, and it would be amazing how fucking much better it handles.
Yeah.
And they just run, like, I feel like they run so smooth, which is awesome. I feel like they take some of the Harleyness out of it for me.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say too. I mean, I was talking to Lance from Thrashing like a year or two ago, and he was saying that he's like he likes his mechanical feel. I'm like, I love it too, but I just bought another FXR after been riding my bagger, and I'm like, yo, this one's just fucked up, right? Because if this is what FXR, because my last FXR, you know, like that was all I had.
You
at the
have
time.
a good one and it's good, or you have a bad one and it's fucking bad.
Yeah, and it's like, you
It could go either way.
I'm hoping it's just like a bad motor mount or some shit like that. But I was like, dude, my balls are being shaken on this bike as I'm riding. It's like that vibration where it numbs it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
That's like what I always tell people. I was like, oh, what do you think about Evo motors? I'm like, listen. I'm like, the good ones are fucking good and they run forever. But the bad ones, problems forever.
Yeah.
Like it just is one of those things. But that, you know, and that's what it is for me, because everyone always asks me, like, oh, why don't you ride the Softail? I'm like, I'm waiting for my FXR to, like, I'm like, the motor's on, you know, motor's on back order. There's
something really weird about, like, an FXR. Like, I didn't have one for a couple of years, and then I just picked up another one that we're going to build for Sturgis. And even, like, I've been riding that to bike nights lately instead of my bagger. And I feel cooler on it than my bagger. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's what it is for me, is not that you feel cooler, but it's like, it just gives you a different feel, like that mechanical aspect. Like you hop on something that's got fuel injection and fucking all the doodads and whistles and gauges and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You know, it's closer to being in a car or whatever, you know, like that's kind of, you know, but I hop on mine that the way I have it set up, and it's got, you know, I don't have the only thing on the motherfucker is a gas gauge. And it just has a key to start. There's no hand controls. There's no blinkers. There's no fucking high beam, low beam. There's like a stop. There's like a tail light, a brake light, a headlight, and that's fucking it.
Yeah.
And it fucking is fast and it's fun, and it's one of those things where I hop on it and, like, you know, maybe not the most convenient thing for what you're trying to do, but you hop on it and you're like, all right, cool, let's go on a ride, and you're like, hopefully we fucking make it.
Yeah.
But then you hop on your bagger and you're like, it's no question whether or not you're gonna get there.
That's why I'm doing these trips now with the bagger.
Yeah. Which, you know, in a situation like that, you don't want that risk. But like when you're riding around town or you're going on a ride with your homies on the weekend, it's like half the fucking fun is like, is my shit gonna break? Like, I don't know. Like, cause fuck, dude, for me, it wasn't ever anything bad, but it's like, I go out and I break my fucking exhaust, like, all the time.
Yeah.
And it sucks and it's annoying, but it's like, it made for some fun, you know? It made for some, like, excitement. So and that's what I feel like it is for me. You know?
Have you guys considered getting involved, or have you been involved in any of the racing shit that's starting to kind of kick off everywhere?
I think when I get mine together, I'm going to go give it a shot.
Yeah. Because
I always wanted to, you know, having raced motocross and shit when I was younger, for me, and then I owned that sport bike. I owned a sport bike when I was like 18. I bought one, and I got rid of it because I was going to kill myself. But I always... You know, I know that I don't have, like, the self-control to want to have a sport bike for the street. And, like, I just feel like sport bike people are not my people.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're that cool, you know? But I think that when you have one that's set up for the track and you take it to the track, I think they're really fucking cool. So the idea of getting one for the track, like, I had an opportunity to buy one and I passed on it and I kick myself for it all the time. But I wanted to get, like, a track bike and buy a set of leathers and just go do track days.
Yeah.
And that was always something that I wanted to do for the past few years. And I'd never gotten around to it. And then seeing everybody start getting into this, I'm like, fuck, I'll just buy some leathers, take my FXR out there. Yeah. And just go give it a shot, you know, go see how it is. And because I think it'd be a blast.
It looks fun.
It does. It looks like fucking like tons of fun. And, you know, I'm waiting. I was going to end up rebuilding my motor after it blew up, but S&S was back order on some parts. Talking with my buddy over there, I'm just going to end up dropping a full motor in it, which is also on back order. So one of these days, it'll come together. And once it does, I'm going to try and get it out there. I don't know if it's going to happen before this next track day or that race that's in Utah or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know that it's going to happen by then, but it should happen soon.
Yeah, I think
I'm going to get out there and try it.
It's going to be interesting to see how all that stuff plays out, you know, the race and stuff. And it's dope to see everybody kind of evolving, like you said, from the Sportster to the Dyna to the bagger. And the good thing about that race, I guess, is that it's not just baggers. They probably should have called it something different than bagger race.
I think it
league.
does throw people off, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, is there going to be classes for something else?
Yeah.
Like, you know, what about for other people? And I guess there is, right?
Yeah, there's like, you know, I think there's a hooligan class. There's,
I saw that.
There's like a big twin class, so that could kind of be, you know, everything but a bagger.
I just didn't know what the limits were on that, because like I'm about to put a 124 in the FXR, and I'm like, I don't know if they have like a.
I think there's no. Apparently, there. You know, I'm going to be doing a podcast with Tony Shreds too. He's one of the guys that helped write the rule book, I guess.
Are you doing that while you're down here?
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah, probably tomorrow, I think. Yeah, I got 3 podcasts tomorrow.
Busy man.
2 today.
Yeah.
3 tomorrow. But yeah, so. Yeah, they have all these other classes, and you know they've been building Softails and Dynas and shit too to take on the track. So the bagger one was it's kind of
on the forefront of all that. Like
for sure.
All those dudes up there ripping like those canyons up there were like, you know, kind of what made this into what it is for the most part. Like
exactly, you know,
at least I guess they're the ones who like put eyes on it. You know, not to say that people weren't necessarily doing it, but like those guys were doing it and they were making it cool, and people were like, oh fuck, like
I'm
you
just
can
glad
do that on a Harley. That's crazy.
I'm just glad that when it started to happen, they were involved. They were given the chance to be a part of it because they were on the forefront of it. As opposed, you know how most scenes are. It's like once it's like you got these dudes busting their ass creating it, and then
somebody
sees it,
runs with it,
exactly.
And they start it, and then everybody's like, "Yo, you started all this cool shit," and everybody's in the background like, what about the fuck? What about us, bro?
Unfortunately, that's kind of what happened with the whole flat track thing.
Yeah,
things were good, and like you know, things were fucking rad, and then things got a little bit more busy and got a little bit more popular, and then like things started to get a little weird.
So there's I hear 2 sides of this flat track thing, right?
Yeah.
I hear one side where certain people didn't like the hooligan aspect because the hooligan aspect overshadowed the professional aspect. But then the other thing is a lot of people also completely oppositely didn't like the professional aspect. It wasn't fun. It wasn't like something
and
obtainable.
And that's what it was for me, you know, is that, and I think for other people too, again, like we were saying, like, you know, it's the people buy a Harley to have a Harley, and you know, with the Harleys are involved because of that. And it's like, I don't know, people want, it's like the whole Fast and Furious thing. They like, oh, I can fucking resonate with that. Like that makes sense to me. I feel that, you know? And like that was the hooligan thing, and that was like the whole thing with it was like you could buy a Sportster for a couple grand, throw $1,000 at it, and be racing.
Yeah.
You know, and then it became not that.
Yeah.
You definitely weren't able to do that later on, but that was what people liked about it. It was
that's
like
what
budget.
I kind of wonder about, like the racing league, where
I hope it doesn't.
Where it's like, it was cool. Like watching, I don't know if you guys actually watched the King of the Baggers one.
I saw parts of it,
dude. I
missed the whole thing.
It was entertaining, man. Like
I
was
like, on that like channel or whatever.
Yeah, you had to like pay for it.
Yeah, so I saw bits and pieces of it. And
I live streamed it on my phone for everybody to watch while we were at the shop.
It looked fucking awesome.
It was. I mean, it was fun to watch, man. But I felt like I was more connected to Tony because I knew him personally, and he was riding.
Yeah, when I saw him and Eric were doing it, I was fucking psyched.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck yeah. But of course, they were like the top 3 were the only ones getting video coverage.
Well, and the top 3 were also pro racers too, which was a bummer.
There was an aspect of it watching that happen that, first off, I'm not an Indian fan at all.
Neither.
So everybody was fucking with me because the 2 Indians were in the front. And I was like, as long as we have one Harley in there by proxy.
Kinda, you know, the whole thing with those is like, I get it. It's like Indians, like, they're fucking hideous.
Yeah.
I don't like them. But like from a motor and like technological standpoint, they're superior, obviously. I mean, they're just a water cooled bike. Yeah, and that's what it is. You know, it's just because, and everyone says that shit, and it's an overhead cam water cooled motor. It's like, obviously it's going to make more power. Like, it just is what it is. Like, you know, per displacement, you're going to make more power.
Yeah, when people are sitting here, you know, giving, Harley can't build that. I was like, dude, the V-Rod motor was gnarly. Then you complain because it doesn't sound like a Harley now. And that's what you really want, is that fucking thunder under your ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you make it completely water cooled, it's not going to sound like that anymore. It's not going to feel like that anymore. And so
then you might as well just go buy an Indian.
My favorite fucking part about Harleys is that you don't have to deal with antifreeze.
Oh.
Yeah.
So please don't make the motors water cooled,
yeah,
because I can't stand that shit. It's sticky and gross, and I don't like antifreeze.
And that's one of those things that always seems to kind of like, you could be riding canyon, your buddy kicks up a rock, punctures your radiator, and now you're done for the day.
Done.
Yeah.
Or you drop your bike and fucking, crush your radiator. That was how it always was in moto. If you go down, and as long as you didn't smash your radiators, you were good. But the second something happened to them, done.
Done for the day.
Done.
And that could happen to you on the open road. And I'm not saying that, obviously Gull Wings and lots of bikes do massive traveling with water-cooled motors. But
it's just another thing to go wrong, technically. Really.
Yeah, it's just not, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not, say this new motor that's coming out in the Harley stuff, the Pan America.
That thing's gnarly.
I'm not opposed that if that motor gets beefed up and ends up landing in a bagger at some point.
I think it'd be cool in the right situation.
I think it'd be cool.
I don't know that it'd be like where I'd be like, yeah, that's the one I want.
Yeah, maybe it's an option where like, hey, you know, we have this 150, 160 horsepower version of it, but it's water cooled and it's in this bagger frame. Harley's not going to make two different motors, obviously, but you know, it's like then people would have the choice of like, well, you know, I kind of want the power and I want this version, and then I kind of want the tassels and the loud shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
and that's like, I feel like that's the hard part about it too. And like for Harley, it's like everyone, you know, you got both sides of the coin. Like people dog on them for having the same design and not really updating anything. You know, I mean they have, but they haven't.
It's amazing. You know? I think it's amazing that a FL front fender that comes on a bagger is the same style fender that came on a 1940 bike, and it still looks dope to me.
Yeah. And that is something that, you know, there's two sides of that coin. Like there's a lot of people who like hate on them for not changing things, and there's a lot of people who love it. I personally love it because even like, especially from our side of things, bro, to try and work on metric bikes, oh my God.
Yeah.
Every year something changes, and there's, you know, all these different models, and the fitments on things is wild.
Well, see, that's what in the mid 2000s when I was doing a lot of sport bikes, that's what killed the aftermarket industry for sport bikes.
You had to make so much shit
because back in the day with the Gixxer, you could have a Hayabusa to a 600, and everything was interchangeable motor wise in the sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, you had to do a little bit extra work to get a Busa motor in a 600 frame. But you could take a 1000 motor and drop it right in a 600 frame. Yeah. You could take the swing arm off any of these bikes and put them on the other bike.
Yeah.
The front ends and shit. So it's like, if you made a swing arm on the Suzuki's, you could literally,
you could at least hit one. You could cover all the models with one.
Exactly. It's kind of like having
more Harley. You know.
Yeah. Certain parts of a Harley, like you make pegs for a Dyna. For the most part, you got pegs for Sportsters and
just about everything.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about Harley's, like it. You know, things from. Fuck, dude, back in, you know, you could get a Sportster from 89 and a fucking good majority of the parts are the same as the ones on in 2003 until they made the, you know, the frame switch.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much shit that's the same. And I love that about it because it's so much easier to like, you know, piece shit together if you need to or whatever. It's like you have the ability where it's like not all these, you know, 1 year only, 4 year only, like all these really small sections of you know time like that fit these fucking bikes. It just makes things like you said, it kills the aftermarket because who except for big companies can afford to make 50 different fitments of the same thing. And who, you know, all that shit.
But the other argument that people make with the Indians is like it is faster. It like the Challenger, for instance, it's got inverted front end, it's got brakes, it's got suspension, blah blah blah, but it's also got a lot of shit that
I don't want.
Is kind of garbage.
Yeah,
you know, like when you're sitting on the bike and you know, listeners, I'm sorry, I talk about it all the time. The hand controls, they're cheap looking.
Yeah, not for me.
You know, it feels like the FXR hand controls that came out back then, right? That we all switched to the new Dyna ones.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? This would bother me. For me to have something as nice and quality wise as Harley, I would have to find an aftermarket company that makes nicer switch controls, makes bags that don't feel like flimsy.
And does anybody? I don't know.
You know, no. And so when people are like, well, you know, it has the suspension and all that, it's like, well, you know what? You know what's fun about customizing your bike or just buying parts for it?
You can make it different.
Is it, you know, especially with performance-based stuff, is it makes it feel better. So it's kind of an awesome thing that this bike isn't done from the factory. You know,
I say that all the time, bro. Like, fuck, dude, Steve, you, like, everybody in this industry that does this shit for Harley, everyone's like, oh, fucking Harley dropped the ball again. I'm like, yeah, well, at least we all have jobs, you know?
Bounce that motherfucker.
Yeah, at least they all, at least we still have jobs, you know? Because if everything was perfect from the factory, none of us motherfuckers would exist. So
you don't see motherfuckers buying Kias, and customizing those. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's what I was gonna say. That's one thing that I really always loved about Harley is like, obviously you can go out and spend less money and buy a sport bike, and you will have a faster, better performing, literally in all shapes and form, better motorcycle. But if you try to make that motorcycle into something that's yours and make it look different from somebody else's, ain't gonna fucking happen.
All you can do is put LEDs on it.
Yeah, you can maybe turn it into like a Street Fighter and take that shit off. But like, at the end of the day, like, what are you gonna do to that bike to make it different from the next? Not much. We were just talking about this somebody the other day, and it's like with a Harley, like you can literally change every fucking thing about it.
There's so many genres of styles that you can build your bike to.
And there's so much stuff out there to do with
fucking, you know, the Hell Yeah Brother kit stage 6. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. There, you can LED it. You can fucking
literally the aftermarket is so deep.
Yeah.
Like you could do fucking anything to one, and you try to do it to like just about any other brand of motorcycle, and you just can't. Like not to say you can't, but you just can't in the same way. You're not going to change the style of another bike as drastically as you can a Harley, which with them, it's just like, it's like you said, there's so much you can do with it, like anything. If you're into, you know, V-Claws and Softails and shit, if you're a chopper
guy, you know, like, what are you going to do when all these bikes are, like, I think it's dope right now that people are starting to put M8s in FXRs. It's starting to become a much more common thing. Like, I've already got
Pan Americas in one.
Dude,
that shit would be tight.
Yeah, it would be kind of badass.
I mean, yeah, except for the, you know, antifreeze aspect of things.
But like, you know, when you have the simplicity of a Harley, you can have a chopper. You can cut the frame. You can make a bagger frame a goddamn hardtail.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
there's things like that. Well, when it comes to this Indian and this plated out cast aluminum poured frame,
you can't do shit.
It's no fucking fun.
Yeah, man. It's like you're limited to where that bike's going to be the same bike.
You buy those bikes for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, you buy a sport bike, like, I get it. People like riding them, it's whatever. At this point in life, and like after I owned one, I would have never bought one again if it wasn't going to be for racing.
Yeah.
If for a race bike, if that's what you want to do, fucking perfect candidate to buy something like that. You know? And it's, you know, the right tool for the job kind of thing. But when I'm trying to get something that I can like express my creativity and like make something that I want to fucking actually hop on and ride all the time, it ain't gonna be that.
Well, you know, like you were talking about S&S earlier, I think it's awesome because now, you know, S&S has a track at their facility.
That's fucking rad.
Right?
My buddy sends me pictures of it and shit. I'm like, so
jealous. It's like they're gonna be able to really capitalize on the height of this performance everything scene, right? Where they have the ability to test their things under high stress kind of situations like on a track, versus like before it's always just been about more power or this or can't, you know what I mean? Like there's just so much. I'm really excited to see where the industry goes.
Smooth is fast.
Yeah.
It ain't always about more power, you know?
Yeah, smooth is fast.
It's about knowing what the fuck you're doing, really.
So you guys also do a lot of like rides and meetups and shit like that here too.
Yeah, we haven't in a while because both of our bikes have been broken, you know? And then, you know, everything was so weird in the world that I felt like it was a time at which you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Everyone was hitting me up like, oh, we should do a ride. And I'm like, everybody wants to do one, but at the same time, if all these other people found out we did one, all the people who gave a shit about what was going on in the world, it would have been like, you know, not that it fucking really matters, but it's like, you can't please anybody. Yeah. It's like people are going to be mad that you did it, and people are fucking upset that you didn't. And
and our rides are like,
they get a little rowdy.
They're like, there's a lot of people. So it's like, if we all showed up somewhere, the world would be like, what are you doing?
Go anywhere.
Yeah, you can't go anywhere. There's no destination. You could just go literally ride. But
to the gas station, which, you know, that's what it's about. But it's like, you can't even go eat lunch. Yeah. You know, it's like, what, is everyone going to pack a fucking lunch? Like,
I mean, maybe.
We'll have a picnic, bro.
You go to the gas station, you get some bread and some bologna.
We'll just make sandwiches.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so weird for a while. And then, like, I went up to the FXRs of, what is that thing?
FXR California.
Shit. I didn't know Sam went that far back.
The
FXR Jam?
Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on that. Up in Topaz, and like I'm from Reno, so like that was in my, you know, up in my neck of the woods. So I went up there, saw my dad, and did that thing, and then we were riding around Tahoe, and I blew my bike up, and that was like, a while ago now, back in August, and then, you know, that was like right at the height of everything, when everyone was just like spending dumb money, you know, when everyone was stuck at home and couldn't do anything. So we were fucking crazy busy.
Getting those checks.
Yeah, we were crazy busy, couldn't get parts. And like, that was the last thing on my mind. I was like, you know, why am I going to put this bike together so I can stare at it and not be able to ride it?
Yeah.
So I just took it apart and put everything away. And then like, you know, I'm just now waiting on things to kind of come back in stock so I can put it back together. But, so, you know, between all that, like the rides I was fucking shocked sometimes about how many people showed up. Like they got fucking rowdy too. It was fun. It was a good time.
I need to do more of that shit back home. I always forget about it because it's like, you know, it's one of those things that like you just wake up one day, oh fuck, I think I'm gonna go ride today. Yeah. It's like not enough time to gather the homies and shit. You know what I'm saying?
It was a good fucking time, man. That was fun. But yeah, we've been busy, and then between our bikes and shit, and it's like technically the shop itself has, we have fucking RFXRs, we have the Softail, we have a couple Sporties. One of them's just a frame. The other one's in pieces over here. We have numerous bikes, but like literally none of them are running.
Yeah,
it's like
except for the Softail. Well, even the Softail, we put a new battery in it. We put a new battery in it, and it's still like cranking slow because nobody uses it. So it's like
the
and
security
trying to
just
get under that stupid seat to charge the battery, and we put a pigtail on it, and for whatever reason the charger's not working. So now I got to figure out what's going on. But it's just annoying.
Yeah, the security kills it from sitting, but the again, like it's only one of it. So like unless Steve and I are gonna ride it together, which we could do.
I mean,
yeah,
it wouldn't be the first time.
Not to say we wouldn't, we wouldn't and haven't done that before.
It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be as fun because I'd want to ride the whole time and make him ride on the back, and he would want to fucking ride too, and we'd just be arguing the whole time.
Yeah.
So
we could just do ghosts.
Yeah.
You could just like lay back and I'll grab the handlebars.
That might be more fun anyway.
We'll see.
I feel like some people would judge, but I don't really care. So between not having really anything to ride for the most part, and then everything going on in the world, it's just like it didn't happen for a while. And now it's like, but I feel like once our bikes are back together, and like once we do one, I feel like it's gonna be fucking nuts.
We should just do one every month
again
because it's a lot of fun.
That's what we did.
Like it's cool to get people because a lot of people show up and
that
they
was
don't
really why I did.
They don't really know like
anybody.
They didn't really know us. They didn't know anybody, and like we've met a lot of like super fucking rad people that. Unless we had the ride, we probably would have never met.
That was why I did it. Like that was why I came up with the idea of doing it because, like around here, like there's so many people into the motorcycles and there's so many people in the industry that are in Southern California.
Yeah.
But everybody was like clicked up. Yeah. Like you got your friends over there, and like people don't go hang out with them because they're intimidated by them or whatever, and like they don't know that they're good people. Like we obviously know a lot of people, and like. Well, talk to people like, oh fuck, like newer kids, like newer people getting into this don't know that all these guys are cool. They just see these guys who are like intimidating because, that's like the typical Harley type, right? They're like tough guys and like fucking tattoos and shit. And like to a younger kid,
we're tattooed, but not tough.
I got tattoos on my face and I'm fucking pussy, bro. It is what it is. But to a younger kid, they're gonna see that and like they're new to the industry and like they don't know anybody and like they don't know like what is and isn't okay and like what's gonna fit in and like they don't like for a young kid I get it. It's like being in fucking school or something. You don't just walk up to the popular kids and like jump in their fucking group. Like you don't know. So like my idea with it was like I'm gonna get all these people together that may not ever cross paths and get them in one spot and people are gonna realize that everybody's cool and like be able to meet people and meet friends.
What's awesome about that too is that since so many people are on Instagram, it's like that becomes the opener. Oh man,
exactly. I knew you from that ride, right? Didn't I go on that or?
Like I don't really know who you are, but I know your bike. From Instagram.
People had all the time, like, yeah, you remember that guy? And I'm like, what did he have?
Yeah.
What did his bike look like?
That one. The black dyno with the black.
No, I don't fucking know.
Oh wait,
that guy.
Maybe not that.
That could be anybody. But yeah, it's funny how that works, right? But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like we'd get so many people that would come here that would be. Like, oh yeah, this is my first bike. Yeah. And they're like, where do you guys go ride? Like, where's a good place? What's this? And I'm like, I should put something together and like take people to cool places and get everybody together. And it's like, that way they could meet new friends and like find more people to ride with. It's like, you don't have to just wait for us to ride once a month. Like maybe you can come to this, meet a guy, hook up with their group and go ride with them because that's the fucking beauty of it all is like, it's just all about motorcycles, right? It's like, it don't matter who you are, what you do, what you're into, nobody fucking cares as long as you have a bike and you want to go fucking ride it. I mean, I'm gonna care if you ride it and you don't, you hold something up or something. That I wouldn't say that's necessarily fun for anybody. But as long as you can stay on somebody's pace and you're into what you have a fucking bike. I mean that's what this is about. It's just getting together and riding.
Where do y'all like to usually take people on rides out here? Like what y'all's kind of?
I feel like we've done all the good places already.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
we've gone to Julian a couple times because that ride's always fun.
There's only so many good roads.
Yeah.
Well, especially for good roads where you can take, especially where you can take tons of people.
Well, what I have noticed about it because we've been doing a lot of them is that they're all pretty much nice. It goes over the mountains, but then you just have the traffic. I mean, we were yellow lining hardcore yesterday,
and it's hard to know because like we were kind of open. It's like anybody would hit me up. They're like, "Can I come?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, come!" And like with it's all skill sets like that, it's like it's hard. And like the first couple went off without a hitch, and then pretty much from then on, it was like every time somebody went down.
Yeah.
Because it's like you get that many people together, and everybody, we're all we're not all dudes. There's plenty of chicks that came too, but it's like you start getting that many people together, and you start like, everyone starts fucking getting all like big dick around everybody, like, oh fuck, I'm gonna ride faster than this guy, I'm gonna fucking show this guy, and everyone wanted to show off. And then people would go over their limits, and like it never happened, or it never failed that somebody would go down, right?
Well, this guy, I don't even try to keep up, and usually my chick's on the back, and he has his chick on the back too.
My bike rides better with him on the back.
His bike is faster than anybody, and he's fucking gone. Like, I don't even try and catch up. Like, and I'm going fast. I mean, I'm doing I'm doing like 100 miles an hour, like through the canyons, and like I'm not like going slow by any means, but he's just going that much faster.
I definitely ain't the fastest guy out there, but like I've been riding long enough to know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
but he get around, you know.
I'll let him fucking do his thing, and I'm usually second behind him, or like third. Like there's like at least five dudes that are in the front.
Yeah,
because I've been in the back, and I'll never do that again. I don't want to be in the back. No fucking way.
Everybody wants to be in the front, and a lot of times people who want to be in the front shouldn't be.
Yeah,
and it causes problems.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
people don't. You know what it is like, I've been doing this shit long enough and riding long enough to know my boundaries. And like, if it's just me and I'm riding with some dudes who are faster than me, I might push it, but I'm not going to push it to the point of going down. Like, I know where, you know, granted shit happens, but like, I'm not going to push myself outside of my abilities. You know, I might exit my comfort zone a little bit, because I mean, how are you going to get better if you don't? But like, I'm not going to push myself so hard that I'm worried about going down. And I think people just, you know, maybe people who aren't there yet, like who are newer and shit, they think like, oh, this guy's going fast, I can go fast. Yeah. And it's like, well, you don't know that guy's been riding for fucking 10 years. Or you don't know that guy knows what he's doing, and you don't necessarily. And then those guys try it and they go down, and it just, people have a problem with like, I don't know, I feel like people have an issue with like, oh fuck dude, if I'm not fast, this guy's not gonna, you know, want to ride with me, or he's not gonna think I'm cool, or like I can't let these people know that I'm slow, you know, because they're gonna make fun of me. Nobody gives a fuck.
I think that like when people are making fun of you, that means they like you.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I mean, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, if I'm not giving you a hard time, it's probably because I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? But people have a hard time being comfortable with like their abilities, I think. Yeah. And then they tend to push themselves, and then shit tends to happen. And then
dude, I have no problem. You know, like yesterday, I kept up pretty well, but there was a point in time where I was like, man, I'd rather just be in the back because it was a small group. It was only like 4 or 5 of us. I was like, I would kind of rather be in the back. I don't really like doing this yellow lining like on 2-lane roads and mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit, I don't really do that much unless I'm like pretty confident that it's good, because like that's how people die, bro. Like,
I mean, dude,
unless I'm
know
real
that
comfortable.
the guys were trying to, I don't know, they're not trying to impress me or anything like that, but they're riding
the way that you ride, and that's not how people ride out where you're at. You know?
I mean, I mean, like, you know, obviously I've ridden out here so much that I'm very comfortable splitting lanes at 100 miles an hour. It doesn't bother me. But I'm also the kind of guy where like if there's open traffic, I'll just weave.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm used to weaving instead of just splitting everywhere for no reason, you know?
I try not to split, bro. I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
People fucking fly through that shit. I'll see it, and I'll see how fast people are going, and I'm like scared for them.
I was with them, I was doing it quickly, but I usually don't. If we're all moving at 70 miles an hour, then I'm riding 70 miles an hour. Yeah. Not like 100 through the, you know, while traffic's moving. But when traffic stops, man, I'm taking advantage of that shit because we don't have it back home. Yeah. When we do it at home, people like lose their shit. They act like you just fucking stole a kid from them or some shit.
It was like that in Nevada. I would do that shit when I go back to Reno, and like people lose their minds.
It's crazy that
it's right next to California. It's like, you'd think people would be used to it.
It blows my mind that of all the states that should have lane splitting because of their motorcycle population and their current traffic situations, that Utah became the second place to have.
You're right. Yeah, that's like Nevada doing it, bro. It's like outside of Reno and Vegas, cities? Like, well, where's all the traffic? There isn't any. You know, that was the best part about being there, was like you could go 30 minutes outside of town and it's like
there's nothing else.
There's no traffic. When I had that sport bike, I went out like to like Highway 50 outside of town, like towards like out by Fallon. If anyone's from up there, they'll know where it is. But fuck, dude, I had that jig strip to like 183. Like tapped out. Like it wasn't red line, but it was like wind drag. It wasn't going any fucking faster.
Yeah.
And it was like I didn't see a car the entire time. Yeah. Like the road is like as straight as fucking can be for as goddamn far as you can see. So it's like you could go do shit like that, and you don't have to worry about anything, because if there was a cop, you'd fucking see him, because it's flat and straight. You would know where he was. You know, so you can go out there comfortably and do all that and not have to worry about cars or traffic or anything. I love that about being up there. But yeah, it's weird that, because Utah's very much like that. That's why I bring it up. You know, it's like outside of fucking St. like St. George area, like down by Vegas, and outside of like Salt Lake, it's like ain't much, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I wish that, you know, Texas is one of those states that they really should do lane splitting. But the problem is that we don't have a helmet law, and there's too many older guys that don't want to wear helmets that would never allow that. You know, because if you trade lane splitting, you're definitely gonna have a helmet law. I
imagine you wear a helmet
all the time. Yeah,
I don't mind it. Like if I've ridden, like I think
when
we got across, I don't know, we were going to Laughlin or something.
Yeah, when you
and we got across,
Arizona, right? You don't have
and we rode for a while without a helmet. I'm like, this is weird. I'm gonna put it back on.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It just I'm not used to it.
There's weird because like Louisiana next to us is a helmet state. So we did this thing a couple months back. We called it a polar ride, where we picked up a date and we're meeting in Shreveport, which has casinos. In Arkansas and Texas, we all kind of met up and rode there. We didn't know if it was going to be 70 degrees because of the weather out there, or literally a week later, it was a snowstorm.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was like that for you.
Yeah, we were in the middle of all that shit.
Nuts,
so,
right?
you know, Arkansas doesn't have as many of this kind of style bikes as we do in Texas. So they were trying to fluff their numbers by going to the local bar to get all the wild hogs to come out.
Yeah.
And those dudes don't ride with a helmet. And put it like this, they stopped at a gas station like a couple miles from the border to get gas. They didn't put their helmets on. They waited till the line to pull over and put their helmets on.
Fucking serious?
Yeah. It's like,
people are wild, bro.
It's like, wear a fucking helmet. Or when, you know, like I said, since there's no helmet law, there's a lot of in my town where I live, I'll literally be driving to work or riding, and there'll be a dude on a bike. It'll be 30 degrees outside, and he's got everything on except for a helmet. I'm like, and it's just straight taking that fucking Arctic wind to the face. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Put a full face
nobody
on.
thinks
You'll
you're
be
cool,
way
man.
more
Like,
comfortable.
nobody's gonna care. Like, that's the best part about wearing a helmet, is that your shit don't get cold.
I like it.
Cold, I guess. It still gets fucking cold, but not as cold.
I like it because, especially with the tinted visor, like I can look at shit and I don't have to worry about making eye contact with somebody and it being awkward and
That's
shit.
why I like fucking tinted windows.
Yeah.
Like, all my fucking shit has dark windows because I don't want people to see me.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to, like, I want to be able to, I don't want to make awkward eye contact. I don't want people to see what I'm, like, doing. Don't look at me.
Pull the super bad.
You know?
Yeah, don't want them to, I don't want them to know who I am either. Like, especially on a bike too. Like, I like having a tinted visor and shit. I don't want people to be able to see me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it makes it weird.
Yeah.
You know, like it sounds dumb, but
Don't mind
you know
the
what
fact
I mean.
that you're
People,
like the only one with a purple frame. They're like, oh shit, no, that's not him. There's no way that's him.
And
He
that's
has
fine.
He has a tinted visor.
But I mean, for other people, like you look at somebody in their car and it's like, if they can't see you, it's different. But if you make eye contact, then it's just fucking weird.
yeah, it's
right?
weird
It's just
on
one of those
every
things.
aspect.
But I don't know, because like I've done a lot of riding across the country and shit, and like we've done a lot of shows other places, and like I've definitely ridden without a helmet, and it wasn't by choice.
I tell you what, like me, like being in Florida or being somewhere with the homies and we're gonna run to the gas station real quick.
That's
problem.
one thing.
Yeah.
you know?
I don't have a problem. I'm not that much of a nerd where it's like you could die. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I'm not that guy. Like I'll do that, but sometimes I jump
do
on my
think
bike.
That is the cool part of not having helmet law.
Yeah.
Like, because we were in Sturgis, it's like, if we were going to go on a ride, I wear my helmet.
Yeah.
But if we're like, yo, I'm going to run down to the fucking store and buy something real quick, it's like, I'm not going to I'm not going to take the time to throw it on real quick.
When we went to
you don't have
Sturgis, we would go. We're gonna go get energy drinks in the morning, and we literally had like Vans shorts, no shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
No helmet, and we
The
just
worst
rode in
riding attire.
shorts and Vans, and we went like up the street and went through like the back alleyways and we're like jumping shit on the way there.
Yeah,
that was like the funnest
attire.
shit ever.
Like, definitely not the proper riding gear for a motorcycle.
It was fun for like, that half hour.
Yeah, we had like, short sleeves on, fucking board shorts, Vans, like no socks, like no helmet, no gloves, like literally, and like that's the one thing I didn't necessarily know is that when you don't have to wear a helmet, you have to wear eye protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Didn't have that either.
People get in trouble real quick with that shit up there.
Yeah.
Because you gotta understand, man, I came from big wheels. You know what I mean? That was what was really popular in our neck of the woods. So we would.
Riding those things is terrible.
It is, but at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, money, bro. Like,
that's
hey,
where the money was for us.
It.
And especially with paint, you know what I mean?
I feel like you're riding one of those like penny farthing bikes, like those fucking ones with the big front wheel and like the little back wheel, and like it just. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't, and but I mean, at the time, like it was the culture that we had
for sure.
And
those people spent money, bro. Like
they did, and
it's still big,
It's kind of wearing off.
Yeah.
You know, there's still people building
their niches though, and those people still have no problem dropping.
It's the same thing. Like after when the billet chopper era went away, there was still those
fat
dudes
tire people
out there rocking those bikes. You know, like, I mean, who's to say like if you came out you became a biker, or you were at this point in your life where you can afford to do things and have fun, and you had the most fun in your life on that big wheel bagger,
then fucking keep doing it.
You're going to have a hard time letting it go. You know what I mean? It just feels like certain things are going to stick with you. Like, I don't know if I could ever not be an FXR guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that it's not like some kind of clown bike.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I mean, it's all, you know, whether the bike performs or not, if it's your steez, it's your steez.
Yeah.
You know, if that's your style, that's what you're doing.
But so back in the day, like, you know, I came off sport bikes, I always wore a helmet, and then it felt weird wearing a helmet on a Harley, so I didn't wear one. And then when I started traveling on my big wheel across the country, you know, and then I learned, okay, well, I'm going to have to take a helmet, but I don't want to necessarily take a half shell, because I'd rather just take a full face. And then I got used to wearing a helmet with on the big wheel, because when you're traveling, that wind hitting your face it'll wear you out real quick.
Yeah.
So
get chapped lips and shit.
Yeah, dude, I still get chapped lips.
Yeah, with helmet on, I still get chapped lips. Like,
but then it's like, you know, you're wearing a helmet, and then the fucking grasshopper just takes out your goddamn whole right side of your face on the helmet, and you're like, God, I'm so glad the visor was down. You know what I'm saying?
I've hit so many like bees and shit. Like, oh, dude. But yeah, I don't know. Like that year that I went out and I bought the 2 bikes, we went to Chicago, picked up the bikes, went to Cleveland, did the show, and then went from Cleveland. My chick is from Milwaukee. Yeah. So we go from Cleveland to Milwaukee. We spent like close to a week there. And like, I didn't really have an intention of buying, like I had an intention of buying bikes, but I didn't bring a bike. So I didn't bring any helmets. So we got there, and obviously I wanted to ride the fucking things. So like riding around in Milwaukee, we didn't go far, but like, we didn't wear helmets because I didn't fucking bring any. So, but even just that, I was like, that's fucking weird, man. Yeah. I didn't know how I felt about it. Like, it was.
And you don't wear sunglasses either.
I don't. I can't. So, I'm blind. I can't. Like,
so that's a weird
dark
one.
Is weird for me. Like, tint is okay during the day, but like at night, like I can't even wear my tinted shield down because my night vision is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But, that bugs me too. And yeah, I don't wear sunglasses because they look stupid on my face. So I don't even own a pair of sunglasses. So that was weird too. Like, I didn't have anything.
Just taking all that sun to the face.
I just fucking did it. I was just like, whatever. I just didn't wear glasses or anything. Luckily, I didn't get stopped by anybody. None of the bikes were fucking registered or insured anyway. So luckily, I didn't get stopped by anybody. But I don't know, dude. It's just growing up in Nevada, like, there was obviously a helmet law. So like, you know, everyone I knew, my dad, everybody who had bikes that were street legal had to wear helmets. And then I grew up racing motocross wearing full face helmets. So like, then it's just always been natural to wear one to the point where people who didn't have to wear one are so used to not wearing it that it's weird. It's the other for me. Like, if I don't wear one, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah. Like it just feels like out of place. You know what I mean? Like, it's not complete without it on. So when I don't have to wear it, I'm like, this is odd. I'm just going to put it on. Yeah. Because why not? You know, not because I think I'm going to fucking, you know, if you're going to go down, having a helmet is going to severely help your chances and not getting fucked up. But if you're going to go down that bad, I mean, you know, it is what it is.
Me and the homies, we did a big loop, San Francisco down to LA for Born Free like 2 years ago, the last Born Free that was out. And we stopped at Neptune's. You know, all the dudes in Dallas want to go check it out. And we're on the bikes, and you know, we're all wearing Vans, and you know, we got that look going on. And
I never wear boots either.
I don't like wearing boots when I ride. And
it's a bad idea, but it's just not comfortable.
These older guys come up and they're on the Beamers and shit, the venture bikes, and they're
so tight.
They're like, yeah, I love those bikes, by the way. But
the worst
they come up and they're like, hey, you know what? We just pulled a guy off the road that lost a foot wearing shoes like that. I'm like,
worst people.
I'm like, yeah, man, that's cool.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, but
appreciate
it. When you wear Vans, you'll lose your foot. But if you're wearing boots, you might lose up all the way up to the knee.
Yeah.
Because like, I got in a pretty bad accident when I was, I don't know, it was like in 2006, and I hit a guardrail, and the doctor was like, it's a good thing you're wearing Vans, because if you're wearing boots, it probably would have twisted and your knee would have broke, and it would have been a lot worse than just the bone on the side of your ankle.
I think there's like,
so he was like, in this case, it's probably better, but I'm like,
and con to both.
If you go down, you're gonna get hurt.
The road rash you're gonna get on, like, you're gonna tear your fucking skin off in a pair of Vans before you do in a pair of leather boots. But at the same time, you know, you going down and something like this happening.
I tell people, like, look, I'm not planning to go down.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just not. I mean, I don't know. I've been fortunate. I haven't really I've never had a wreck that I didn't deserve. You know what I mean? So like
usually I've only ever had like one other, like I've had one incident that was involved with a car where a dude cut me off, and that was like on my Sporty back when, and I could have saved it, but he like pushed me into the gutter and I lost it. But like I almost fucking had it. But any other time that I've gone down is because of my fucking stupidity.
When I was on
it's been me alone fucking around, really.
On the way up here, I was coming from Glamis to going through Julian. On the way up Julian, before it got to where it was like, you know, snowing on the ground and shit, it had like a storm had went through. So the ground was dry, but the yellow where in the center where it has all the little water pockets. So if you go over, it goes like that. Dude, I was in the corner coming around feeling good. My rear tire hit that shit and it just slowly went out. And I'm like, you know, because
what a terrible feeling.
It happened so slow. I was able to counter it, but I was like, stop, because it was getting to a point where it was going far, and then it would have bucked me off.
Yeah, caught and throw.
It caught, but it wasn't so far that it bucked me. I just kind of hit that right there, and the only thing I could think about was not my bike, but this bag full of all this equipment. Because I'm not going to get that covered on insurance. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was.
What the hell were you doing with all that equipment on your bike? Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Just traveling, right? But
so I was worried about that.
What the fuck were we talking about? Oh yeah, I don't know. Like when I did go down and that car was involved, like I put a pretty good fucking hole in my ankle. I put I got a gnarly fucking scar from that. And I guess what? I still wear fucking Vans and Nikes when I ride. Like it is what it is. Like I'm a firm believer in like it being your choice. It's like a seatbelt. I don't think they should have to tell you to wear a seatbelt, because at the end of the day, if I get into a car accident and not wearing a seatbelt, it ain't gonna kill the motherfucker who is wearing a seatbelt. It's gonna kill me, and that's my choice.
Here comes the mask conversation.
You know, I'm a firm believer on that being the same way as a seatbelt. You know, if somebody wants to wear it, cool.
Since they just opened up Texas and everything, and like all the news outlets in Texas, you know, obviously they're drinking a certain type of Kool-Aid, and so they're trying to push a narrative like we should still wear the mask, and they're like, these businesses are still going to require you to wear a mask to come in it, and I'm like, that's fine. You know, it's
if that's
like,
what they want, then that's what they want. That's cool.
And
I'll abide by that.
Our governor came out and said this, which is, you know, our governor's pretty loved by us. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys.
That's not the one who just went to Cancun, right? That's
no, he's a senator, Ted Cruz. I mean, dude, I would have went.
Everybody's dogging on this guy because he's in the public eye, but at the same time, I'm like, there's a fucking snowstorm. I'm gonna go to Cancun.
Yeah, well, they
miss me with that.
It's that stupid shit where they want you to suffer too, kind of stuff. But,
of course, that motherfucker, you know, suffering though. He's rich.
Exactly.
You know.
But you know, our governor said, like, look, you know, we're just giving you the freedom to choose whether or not you want to wear a mask,
and that's how it should be.
Whether you want your business to reopen to full capacity. Because there's people that have to. That have to because of their situations, not because of their political leanings.
Yeah, and it's not like they're holding a gun to your head saying, like, you're going to open or you're stop wearing that shit. Like, if you want to, cool. But, like, you don't have to. And that's how it should have been the whole time.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But, you know, whatever. That's a topic that can go on for forever.
Yeah, and it's a real common one that always comes up. Especially, I mean, it's like the elephant in the room, especially out here in California, where the rest of the country, we're looking at, like, you know, the recall Newsom and all this, and I
fucking hope it happens too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're shit about much.
We're kind of worried, you know, with so many people coming to Texas, we're kind of worried that they're gonna change the state, you know, and they're trying.
That was Nevada my whole entire life. Everyone hated California because everyone from California had moved to Nevada. And then, like, they're like, yeah, everything we hate about California, let's make it a law in Nevada, and we'll turn Nevada into California. That was always the thing.
Why even fucking move?
Yeah, why move? Because they would always move, and then they would just turn the place into California. Like, hey, let's make it more liberal here, because we wanted to get away from that. That makes sense, right? People are dumb. But
it's pretty gnarly.
It's one of those things where, like, I don't know, bro. Like that, I kind of took like a really big social media hiatus, and like I'm still not in the same like zone I was with that kind of thing, just because with everything that was going on politically and like in America, like it's bad enough to have to hear about it on the news and have to deal with it. Like I get it that it's going on and like everybody wants to talk about it, but then you go onto social media and I just want to look at fucking motorcycles and shit like that and cool shit, and I have to see everybody's opinion, and everyone has to get on their soapbox about all this shit. And like I get using your platform to like push what you think is right. I get that. I'm not, you know, I don't think anybody should be oppressed. I don't think anybody should be
for sure,
you know, treated any different than anybody else. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of people who want to push an opinion and want to push an agenda and push their, you know, their beliefs, and they shouldn't. You know, just I feel like there should be a place where that's just not allowed, where we can just all share things that we like. There can be a place for that, and that's why I don't Facebook. Facebook's a good place for that. Instagram is about pictures and seeing cool shit. Like, you know, again, I get it. There's a platform for it, and I see that. But it made me not want to be on social media just with everything that was going on. Like, everything. It's like, dude, it's bad enough we have to live this fucking coronavirus shit. Like, do we really have to talk about it 24/7 too?
Yeah.
So it's like, you say that, like, it always comes up, and it's like, that's the fucking last thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It definitely is the last thing, but
everybody's living it,
as
so
we continue to talk
know?
about it. But yeah, it is one of those deals that's going on, and, you know, there is that deal where, you know, we do hear the news, or we do hear the shit that's being spread on social media. So, like, when you actually get here, it's like, yo, I've already eaten 3 restaurants since I've been here.
Everybody asks me, like, how's it out there? I'm like, I don't know.
So,
same
like,
as it's been for a year,
everyone,
I guess.
everyone asks, like, how's it going out there? And we
it's not much
haven't
different.
changed at all. Like, I go to work and I go home, so there's not much in between.
Yeah.
So, and we've been open the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, like, when
I was
it
like,
was
hush,
when
hush
it
for
was
a little
getting
while.
weird, we left the door shut just because, like,
I just
we
didn't want to
didn't
get
know.
shut down by
like,
the city.
Nobody
Like,
knew what was going to happen.
I didn't
and
want
then,
the city to come by and be like, yo, you guys can't do this, and like fine us and shit. So like, we were not open for that sense, but like, I don't make people wear fucking masks when they come in here.
Our
I don't
neighbor,
give a shit. If they want to, cool. But if they don't, like, cool. I'm not going to. So like, that's fine.
Our neighbor came over and was like, "Oh, my brother-in-law works for the city, and they're going around finding people and this and that." And I'm like, as much as I didn't want to believe it, I'm like, all right, well, we'll just keep the door shut just in case.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to talk to anybody from the
door
city.
Shut, and we
anyway.
left the fucking, you know, we locked the front, and it's like, people be like, yo, can I come get shit? I'm like, yeah, just call me when you get here. And like, I'll open the door, you can come in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it locked just in case somebody official comes by.
Yeah.
I'm like, so just know that our hours were here, and like, you know, probably outside of that too, just give us a shout and we'll make it happen. Like, if you want to bring a bike by, you can. I'm like, just for all intents and purposes, to stay like out of fucking, you know, the public eye, like, we're just gonna keep everything locked up. But
we ended up when everything shut down in the country, like, was right after Daytona, and then we had 4 weeks.
Oh yeah, because you were in Daytona and we were in Milwaukee.
Well, I wasn't there, but that's when it happened. And then 4 weeks later was like our event that we host, which is a camp out, and we didn't want to promote it anymore, but
and
we were still gonna
shut down, right?
We were still gonna do it though, and we had the biggest turnout we ever had.
Yeah,
you know, and that was when people were only locked down for 1 month.
Right.
You know, and Sturgis was insane last year. It was a good time.
When they started giving everyone all the free money.
Yeah.
And it's like, they couldn't go out to eat. They couldn't go on vacation. They couldn't do shit. So everyone got all this money, and they're like, yo, I'm going to buy it on motorcycle. Like, I'm going to spend it on my hobby, which for a lot of people was motorcycle parts. And last year was the best year we've ever had. And I'm sure, like, 90% of people in the industry can say the same thing. Like, it was fucking nuts.
Yep.
It was like everybody was buying everything, so we were selling more shit than we ever had, and shit was harder to get than it ever was.
Yeah.
Material, other like companies' parts, like everything was fucking back ordered. But like for us manufacturing our own shit, like getting material was tough. Like it was, and like getting, because like with other people, it's like, you know, we didn't care. Like the guy who helps us machine all our shit didn't care. The coders were fucking weird, like trying to get shit anodized or trying to get shit powder coated was like, oh, are they going to be there? Am I going to be able to get this fucking hardware I need? Is the hardware store going to be there? Is the fucking supplier for that going to be there? So then it became weird with shit like that. And it's like, it was like such a weird unknown time, but like we sold more shit than we ever had. It was fucking awesome. We had and like that's so, I guess really my only fucking complaint about the whole thing was just lack of free time, really. But it's like, not that we could do anything anyway. So it all worked out, couldn't go do shit. So all I did was work, and it's like we were busier than ever. So it worked out, but I
traveled the most I ever have last year.
Look, I haven't gone anywhere in a while.
Yeah.
But I haven't been on a plane fucking in quite some
I haven't
time.
been. I don't want to. My wife just texted me and said she landed.
Times during all this shit.
She was like, "Yeah, I landed just now. Cool." But like, I haven't wanted to be on a plane just to have to wear a mask the entire time.
Yeah,
like,
it sounds terrible.
We went to.
I got bad allergies and sinuses and shit. Like the last thing I need to do is like restrict my breathing even more because I'm already fucked up.
Yeah.
We went to. Me and my wife and kids went to Georgia and flew with the kids, and it's the worst idea ever with little kids.
Oh God.
But Luckily, they didn't make my 2-year-old wear a mask. Because there's no fucking way. He'll rip that shit off and be like, I'm not wearing it.
It's bad enough that you walk on there with your baby and your 2-year-old and people are already like, oh, God, this is going to suck. And then you have to keep them with you. You have to fucking mask up and shit.
Everything
like, oh
about all of this just doesn't make sense. It's like in the airport, you have to stay 6 feet apart. And then they shove you on this plane and you're packed in like sardines. And you're sitting next to people you don't know. I'm like, wait,
That's everything, though.
How is this you're not following your own guidelines at all.
That's
like
everything,
we're
though.
just
everything here is like, yeah, you can't go inside, but you can all stand in line together. I'm like, what is that? How does that change
you
things?
can eat outside, and they usually pack everyone outside.
You can eat outside in this like
weird
makeshift room that we made outside. I'm like, what's the fucking difference? We're just gonna all sit out here and
you can't be inside. We're gonna make a thing that looks like inside outside, and you can sit outside.
You can sit in this like tarped tent that is
cool.
basically like being indoors but not being indoors because like we don't care either, but we have to follow the laws that they put in place.
Yeah.
You know, it's like restaurants too. They're like, we're just trying to do what we're told, but like they're trying to make their money too. So it's like they stuff you all into this fucking room that's like, why wouldn't you just be inside? It makes no fucking difference. Anyway,
just open up the windows. It'd be the same thing. Let a breeze go through. Anyway,
because it's starting to take over the topic. Like I'm sure it will.
Yeah, it's been a shit show.
Okay, so what I was saying, the fucking whole helmet thing, it's like a seatbelt thing. It's like the mask thing. It's like the shoe thing. If you don't want to wear the fucking appropriate gear, the only person who's going to suffer from that is going to be you.
Yeah.
So, like, who cares? Exactly. I'm not trying to tell this motherfucker, like, yo, dude, you shouldn't be wearing those shoes. Like, that's your problem, buddy. Like, I don't know. Like, you should know better if that's what you do or don't want to do. I know what I'm getting myself into, not wearing fucking boots or not wearing, like, I hate wearing gloves.
Yeah.
I fucking hate wearing gloves. Because I don't like not being able to feel like my controls and shit. Yeah. Like it's just like when they're bulky. Like
I've always been the same way. And obviously, like I'm not trying to endorse it right now, but like those Thrash and those real small like gloves that don't do anything. Really,
I wear their leather palmed ones.
Yeah,
and I like them a lot. I will say
they give me that feel that I want to have on the bike, especially whenever I'm riding a little bit more aggressive. I want to have a complete wrap around. I also have some gloves on this trip that are thick and for the weather.
And that's the one time I'll like. Yeah.
This is a grip right now.
When it's cold, I definitely will deal with it. But like in the summer, like I'm not trying to wear it. Yeah. I'm trying to, and I get that like if you go down, you don't have gloves on, like it's not much on your hands, but it helps. Because I've definitely fallen in the dirt and on asphalt without gloves, on many things. And it sucks. So I get wanting to wear them, but like I just don't like it. So like, yeah, I've been wearing those Thrashing ones with the leather palms, which I love those gloves, but I was bummed when I saw them because that's exactly what I wanted to make when I made a glove. And we were talking to somebody. I'm like, bro, I want to do like a fucking really thin leather palm and like a canvas top because I feel like it's the best of both worlds. And then I saw they had it, and I'm like, well, I guess we're not fucking doing that. But I wear them and I like them. Yeah, so they're great. They work well. But that's like the closest thing I've found to like not wearing gloves. But like ain't nobody gonna suffer with that from you besides you. So it's like if you go down and you don't have the right shoes on, if you don't have a helmet on, like fucking that's on you, buddy. You want to fucking potentially die on a crash that you could just get up with some road rash, like that's on you. I think it'd be my problem.
The helmet thing, man, like I said, it's one of those deals. And I mean, I don't know. Some people just, I've always said that like some people are prone to going down because of the way they ride and the way they anticipate while they ride, and those are the guys that I don't know, I just like wearing helmets. I think it's cool. And also like it's one of the deals that like has helped our brand a lot by pushing the narrative of wearing helmets to the rest of the country that never really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean it's a style thing too.
I mean watching all the stunt riders down in Daytona right now, ripping wheelies across the bridges and they're in fucking Crocs, and I think CJ and all these other guys.
Evo always wears Crocs.
I'm like, dude, that's fun to watch, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be that dude.
Yeah, him always wearing. I love it. He's always wearing fucking Crocs. But that's like everybody up north, like those dudes up north. That dude like with the Reckless and fucking all those guys up in the where the fuck are they? Like
East Coast,
New Hampshire.
Oh, Connecticut.
Yeah.
But like people see that and they're like, oh, these guys are crazy. I'm like, bro, that's like what they're used to. There's no helmet law. If you grew up not wearing a fucking helmet, why would you wear one? Yeah. It's like people. It just is what it is.
I watched a movie that was on HBO Max of that Charm City Kings. It was about like all the I guess the black culture of like the bicycles and the dirt bikes and all that shit.
Dude, fucking the stunting and shit.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but that sounds rad.
It's a good movie. It's a movie, but I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube with all that shit,
dude,
and I'm like,
so tight.
They're fucking so good, dude. It's like these kids, and then they're doing that shit.
The whole guns or fucking bikes not guns type of thing. I don't remember what the actual like tagline is, but that shit's tight. And some of those kids fucking get down.
Yeah.
It is wild.
They're doing wild shit. And then when I was riding up in New York, because it's so popular on the motorcycles or on the dirt bikes and shit, these kids are all riding bicycles now, doing wheelies and the shit
Swerving
where they come at the
cars. Oh, dude, it's
and
just
swerve
nuts.
cars. Yeah, it's gnarly.
And I love it, dude. It's like the power of numbers. Like they all fucking take a bunch of dirt bikes out in the street, and it's like there's 100 of us.
We have a big group of that in Dallas too that happens, and they take over. We also do a hood ride where it's kind of like to help the stunt scene there, kind of get out there. We have a no chase policy in Dallas, so we can pretty much get away with murder.
That's tight.
So we get out there and we have all these Dynas and FXRs and baggers just ripping wheelies through our city, which our city has a dope skyline and we have cool bridges that goes across our
good like photos and videos.
Yeah. So like you're crossing this like suspension bridge, and then you got the whole skyline right there, and everybody's ripping wheelies, and it's all new bridges, so you're not like hitting fucking fucked up roads and shit. You know what I mean?
That's rad.
And so it's a good time, man. And fortunately though, when we do that, we just pray that the dirt bike guys don't find out and come, because they'll kind of fuck it up for what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I think it's dope what they're doing. They just need to stay over there with that shit.
Yeah. Don't mix the agenda, like,
because they come out with 4-wheelers and shit, and you ever see those 4-wheelers when they're doing shit together and then the tires touch and then just fucking throws them out.
And then it's a big pileup. Yeah.
Like let's just say that quads are never should be acceptable.
It's anywhere. Like rollerbladers at a skate park is what it's like.
Right. It's like the scooter kid.
Yeah, scooter kids at skate parks.
Kids. Yeah.
God.
Like there's no place. Like I like 4-wheeled things. Side by sides are the coolest shit ever. Those things are a blast. But I don't think a quad has a place in anything. Anything. That's just my opinion. But like,
it's good for like if you have a ranch and you need to get to the other barn.
That might be, or like pulling a trailer or
that's
whatever.
What like the original side by side was for, like a UTV.
Yeah.
But like dudes that are doing wheelies on quads, I'm like, you're cheating. Number one.
Yeah.
I did work on a quad just for our neighbor because he was like, hey,
you can 12 o'clock that shit and lean it on the back.
And I got it, and I'm like, I'm gonna try a wheelie, and of course I wheel it. I'm like, this is the easiest shit ever.
I think it's probably good for people to have a quad to learn braking.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Or like how to use it. Yeah, I mean for that too. But yeah, even just learning how to use a clutch and shit.
Like, the throttle's fucked up. Like it's a thumb throttle. That's
I've
weird.
always wanted to put a thumb throttle on a Harley.
We should.
I was going to. We were going to put one on Ravi's bike at one point. We were going to put a thumb throttle on it just because, just to like, just for something
so
stupid.
Weird. So
it's like grabbing a boob. It's like,
just dumb. I don't know why, but I always wanted to do that. But what was I going to say? Fucking quads, dumb. 3-wheelers, awesome. You take a quad, you take one wheel away, best fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
Most dangerous thing ever invented.
Well, dude,
best thing ever.
Let's bring our attention to our 3-wheeled AMF golf cart that we're going to put a Sportster motor in.
Yeah, Sportster power. Thanks
so
for giving
3 wheels.
It was a surprise.
It was.
No longer a surprise.
Well, whatever. They don't know what it looks like.
That was going to be for Born Free last year. That didn't happen. And like, luckily it didn't happen because we didn't do it.
We didn't do anything with it. But.
So then maybe it'll be for Born Free this year. That'll probably be canceled.
So anyway, I won't talk about it anymore.
I really hope it doesn't. I would love for it to actually happen.
Yeah, that's a good show, man. It's
you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation with Born Free and where it might end up going if it isn't able to happen here. And I don't know, man.
Let's just say if it does happen here in August, it's going to go one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to either be painfully hot or really nice. And like, I say painfully hot as though it's not painfully hot before, but it's going to be fucking worse.
The hardest part about it, man, is like with all these events pushing to the end of the year,
they're all right after each other.
It's right after everything, and then it fucks all the other shit up. You know what I mean? Because there's this big gap where, like, say for instance, this year
usually there's like the beginning of the year and the end of the year.
So
and there's not really much in the middle besides Born Free.
Because I think Mama Tried Now is going to be in December. You know?
Yeah, they said that. Lowbrow, like, we always go to Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's in, like, November. Fucking Mama Tried's, like, November, December. And it's, like, right there is, like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like, bad travel times. And then, like, all these shows, like, back to back to back to back to back. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
And then, you know, like, the IMS shit, not that was ever a big draw. But in Dallas, they would come to Dallas. So that was one of the only real events that we had to where it would always happen in January, which is when we do our anniversary. So we would piggyback our anniversary party on IMS. That way people traveling.
Yeah, we're already in the area.
Yeah, like, we'll come do the Fast Life anniversary party, and while we're here, we'll go ahead and check out IMS.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That or they're there, and they're like, fuck, I'll come check this out.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's some other motorcycle-related shit going on while we're in town for some motorcycle stuff.
So now you have the Bagger Racing stuff that's going to take place in June, and then there's another one in September, right, in Texas, and then you got I'm a Sturgis every year guy, and that's so.
We only ever went on the 75th, and it was a fucking experience.
Yeah,
we had a blast.
It was a trip.
I love that place. So that's every year for me. This year we're doing in June we're doing Northeast all the way to Maine and shit.
I would love to do.
I don't think we're gonna be there when Laconia is going on, but we're gonna ride through where Laconia takes place, and so then that's two and a half. I think 2 weeks we're gonna be on the road to Maine and back. So. There's our camp out that we do is in April, and then that kind of kicks off the year. But we used to have Giddy Up, which is my favorite show of all time.
I wanted to go to that.
It was so bad.
I was talking about going, the last one, and like I feel like the last one was already when things started to like change a bit, and everyone was like, it's not going to be the same, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go.
The last one was weird, but it was like, I'm glad that we got that last one in before it was gone. You know what I'm saying?
I always wanted to go to that though. It was one of those ones that we. The
problem is that I went to Giddy Up before I went to Born Free, and so I thought all chopper shit was like that.
Yeah, because that was like some chopper shit where like kind of anything went, right?
Yeah, like
it was like wild.
Like the actual Giddy Up party at the venue was good time. It was kind of like Cook's Corner or some shit like that, you know.
But the camping of it was wild.
Was like fucking mind blowing. I had so much fun and met people and
that's how Born Free used to be.
Yeah. But then when I came here, I thought that it was like Born Free and then there's a campground down the street.
They're not allowed to camp there anymore because it got too wild and they had to shut it down.
But then I learned to love shows for what those shows are and not make them be like, oh, I wish it was like Giddy Up. You know, like, no, I want Born Free to be Born Free and then Giddy Up be Giddy Up.
Yeah, the problem is then, Born Free was like that. And then it got more popular and more companies got involved. And then it had become more, just like anything else. Mm-hmm. The more popular it gets and the more busy it gets, the fucking more strict it becomes. And the more like...
So that's why at our camp out, we don't do any vendors or any of that shit. And it's like
no
sponsors,
bike show. So you can fucking keep it...
Yeah.
Like keep it wild. I wanted to do a fucking camp out too. Like we've been wanting to do one. I'm just trying to figure out where. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like, I don't know when, but we're going to have to do it in the summer because I want to do like June Lake, like up by Mammoth. Mm-hmm. And it's like a good destination. It's a pretty hefty trip. Like it's a good fucking ride. Yeah. And then like it's a good spot. It's like
you want it to be far enough away where people stay. Not like I'll just rip up there, hang out with them for the day, and then I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, it's like a solid like 4 or 5 hour ride.
Yeah.
From here, and like it's a good destination. It's fucking beautiful up there, and like even in the summer, it's not wildly hot. It's like Yosemite's right in your fucking like right there. Like there's tons of riding, tons of shit. I wanted to do it there. I haven't logistically figured that out yet. But I also don't know. I got to go up there and scout it out and figure out where the fuck we could do it. That things can get rowdy and not
that's the thing.
Fucked up. Because
we're lucky because we have we do it at this dude Adam Sandoval's campground in Oklahoma, which is on the base of some really great riding, and he's an actual biker YouTube guy that has a campground for motorcycles. So we get...
so it's just...
I feel like June Lake, like that area is close enough to Nevada to just go do it in Nevada, and then you just go do it in the fucking desert.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, growing
just
up out
get
there...
Get your own land. Just go sleep forever.
You just go out there. It's all public. Like as a kid, we used to do that shit and go have bonfires and shit all the time and go party. Like, we would just go pitch up, and it's like, as long as you weren't like doing anything, like, obviously we were underage drinking that we shouldn't have been doing, but like never got caught for that. But it's like, if you were out there, we'd go out there and do that to go like ride and shit. Like we'd pack up our bikes and like go out there and have a bonfire or whatever. And it's like, even if the rangers come by, it's like, you don't need a permit, you don't need anything, just you're not fucking being irresponsible basically. Like you're all good. So it's like, fuck, we could go to Nevada and just go do it in the middle of the desert somewhere random, just pop up and fucking get rowdy. And as long as it's like contained to not catching everything on fire, it's kind of okay. So that could be fun too. It's like, where can you go and not, like, I don't want to go anywhere and fuck somebody's shit up.
Well, also, like, I mean, that's a dope idea, but like, it's kind of helpful when you have a campground. That way people can take a shit.
And that's kind of like the other side of things. Is like, then it's like, okay, cool. Where do you have a campground except for your guys' situation where you're going to go and you're like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to bring a bunch of people here and like, they might fuck everything up. So like, I don't know.
There's actually a lot more motorcycle based campgrounds across America than we know about, but it's one of those deals where a lot of them are still ran by people that's not kind of like our scene. Yeah. So like one of my buddies that put one on in Florida, this shit was like pure, like the kind of shit you would have seen in like, like an old Chopper movie or some shit where everybody's like living on the campground now because they just retired and moved to Florida and stay there. And it was a different vibe than our camp out, but it was something different.
Still fun, I'm sure.
It was fun as fuck.
Yeah.
And these old people were there partying with us, and there's a bunch of, it's like a carny is what it was. It's like a carnival, a traveling carnival is what it felt like, the people there. But
that's fucking awesome.
We fit in and we just did our own thing.
Yeah.
And they even like were coming up to us going, you know, we really appreciate you guys keeping this ride across country and sleeping the dirt thing alive. You know, we thought that the younger generation didn't give a shit about that. And like, no, we're doing the same shit you old fucks used to do.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys got smart and bought a campground so we can come do it again.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So,
but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. That shit is cool. You know, like the whole drive, like, oh, I'm going to ride across the country and fucking, you know, pitch a tent off the side of my bike on the side of the road kind of thing. Now's the days where you're like going to wake up and all your shit's going to be gone.
Yeah.
But if you can find a place to do that,
yeah,
it's a fucking rad way to do it.
It's a good time.
It ain't gonna be like it was in the 70s where you just do it on the side of the road and you're like, oh yeah, I'll wake up and I'll be fine.
In trouble.
Yep.
Well, it's either that or you're gonna wake up and your shit's gonna be stolen.
You know that this land is preserved and there's like a spotted owl that you just laid on his nest, and no, they ain't.
Dude, we were in Yellowstone camping this year after Sturgis, and same shit. Like, we had to buy 4 campsites for 9 people to sleep in, right? And it's like, okay, well, we're like, all right, we'll buy 4 campsites for your little dumbass rules. But because this is bear country, we're going to put all our shit together.
Yeah.
That way, if we all got to beat up this bear, there's 9 of us. Maybe we can take them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some camp snitches, basically, they have every little cul-de-sac of the campsites has a camp snitch. And they come over there and like, they don't want all of us camping in one spot because we're messing up the ground. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? There's a road right there.
How is that even a thing? Like, why do people care so much about dumb shit?
We don't want you to disrupt the ground. I was like, so if I was one person with a massive tent that slept 9 people, that's okay?
Yeah. How does that make sense?
It's like,
people just like to pick what they want to bitch about and do it.
It makes no sense, man.
Like, wow, you really have nothing better to do than bitch about weird stuff.
And then we didn't know that you couldn't fly drones in national parks. And once again, Camp Snitch, the fucking park ranger comes over there, super cool dude, and he goes, looking for the guy with the red shirt and the drone. And all he did was, there was a little river down there, and we were walking down there to just check it out before the sun went down, and he put the drone up and he flew it over there, and everybody just mooned him. That's it.
Yeah.
Typical dumb shit like that. It wasn't like he was flying it trying to find wildlife and show all kinds of shit. So he had to pull the drone out. The dude was cool because he said, like, technically this would be a court appearance.
Jeez.
But
that's
if
gnarly.
you just pull the card out, or let me see you delete the drone footage from the drone. Let me see your phone, delete the drone footage from your phone. And then, you guys can be good. Don't pull it back out.
What did I walk into?
Drones in national parks.
So did the mooning video, did he like send it to somebody?
No, it happened like literally, it was done really quick. And he said that they don't allow drones in national parks because it disrupts the wildlife. And then especially like Yellowstone where they have all the geysers and shit, or the pools, they said that people have flown them into pools. And I'm like, and then the lithium in the pool. I was like,
oh my God. Yeah, because that lithium just leaks out real easy.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought for sure you're gonna be like, yeah, because then people can see it and they don't have to pay to go there. And I'm like, that's true.
Then it's crazy because we got to like Old Faithful, and there's drone photography you can buy.
Well, that's why it's like it's like the roller coaster.
It's a hustle.
Yeah, it's like going to like Disneyland.
We can do it, but you can't do it.
It's like Disneyland. They take your picture, and it's like they want you to buy the picture. If you go take a picture of the picture, they get mad and they take it down. They're like, no.
That was always the thing. You get off freaking.
Yeah, and you run over there before they see you, and you fucking snap a picture of the one you're in, so you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
And then they get mad if they see you do it, and they take it down, and then nobody gets to look at it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Dumb. I feel like it's kind of a similar conversation. I remember a long time ago when cell phones first got cameras. I was at a tattoo shop, and these Mexican guys came in, and they were kind of like, I wouldn't say they were legal, but they were definitely like didn't speak English very well. And they had like a flip out camera phone, and there was a Playboy, and they were taking pictures of the nudes in there. Yes. I was like, and all three, it's like if us three walked into a tattoo shop and I was like, oh, check it out, Playboy, let me see your phone. And then we just start taking pictures of it, and we're all standing around looking at it like, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, look at this one. Yeah. It was
just weird.
I was like,
yeah.
is that happening right now?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, what is going on? But yeah, I mean, I guess back then, if that was like, if camera phones were new, it's like the internet wasn't quite at the point now where it's like, you could just get
Have you ever watched
online,
that movie,
buddy.
Have you ever watched that movie on, it's called Middlemen? It's on like Amazon or
I don't think
what's
I
called,
have.
but it's such a good movie. And I think it's factual. It's about how credit card transactions it came from the porn industry. So they were the first people to learn how to use credit cards online to sell nudes. And then that turned into the
Interesting.
big business. And apparently that's how credit card transactions, because someone created an algorithm to do the nudes, and then basically became a big thing for all credit card processing.
Well, thank you, porn, for letting us pave the way to sell
I could
online.
I want to say that it's a true story and that's how it happened, and I want to say that that's the gist I got of it, but it was a great movie. It had like Owen Wilson in it and shit.
It's funny that you say that because like I feel like my buddy, the dude who machines all our shit, he's an older guy who's been, not older, but he's older than us. And he knows a lot of people and done a lot of shit, and he's been involved in a lot of shit. And I feel like he was telling me something like that. Like he's like, this guy I know like created an algorithm for something like that and got dumb rich. Like dumb rich.
I was in this conversation.
I don't remember,
and I don't remember.
I don't remember if it
was
was about that like algorithm for credit card processing, but it was something like that. And like he like happened to write the code for that, and now it's like just what it is. And like he fucking,
because this was this is like probably like late 90s, early 2000s. Like it was a quick thing that happened, right? Because I think we're old enough to remember that, I mean, I didn't have a credit card when I was a teenager, but just a debit card, you go there and then you put the debit card and get the money out of the ATM. That's it. You couldn't go into a grocery store.
No, I remember that.
And swipe the card.
Well, yeah, when people had to write, the kids nowadays don't even know how to write checks.
I don't know how to fucking write a check.
I mean, I try not to write a check.
Yeah.
I don't get checks. They're like, yeah, can you give me a check? And I'm like, what?
Well, they don't even
I can
take
get you a
the check
cashier's
out.
check.
I'm like, dude, I'll just give you a PayPal invoice.
Yeah.
That's fucking,
when you go
well, there's still a lot of shit that you do. They're like, oh yeah, I need a voided check. And I'm like, bro, I don't have checks.
Yeah.
Like, can I give you something else?
I'll see like randomly old people write checks in the grocery store.
Yeah,
they give them the check, they run the check,
take 'em.
they give you back the check.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah,
why
'cause
don't
it's
you just use
processed
a
already.
card? It's the same. It's
Yeah.
so stupid.
Well, because they don't want a card.
Yeah.
It's like my dad still uses he still does his like checkbook balance on paper. I'm like, they keep that all
Balancing
online.
checkbooks, and nobody
He's
knows
like,
how to
yeah,
do
but
that
what if they
anymore.
don't? And I'm like, but they do. Like, where's it gonna go?
well, remember how they used to process credit cards?
Yeah,
where
with
like
that
these,
strip
the
fucking thing.
paper
and like, how do
swiper
they
thing.
know if you had money on it or not?
They didn't at the time.
That was like back in the day.
That was
I
the hustle.
remember when I worked my first job was Long's Drugs, and if our credit card machines went down, we would do like the old style ones, and you just write all the info, and then somebody had to go through and do all those transactions and actually charge the card. And sometimes people didn't have money, and it would go through, but it's on their deal.
So, yeah,
That's
you'd
all,
get
like,
the
their
money, but then the
insurance.
credit card company would have to fucking go after them to get the money.
It's
somebody
weird.
had to manually enter all that info in and run it. It's weird.
Crazy the amount of like the way that things were, and then you think about it now, and it's like you could fucking get away with so much shit back then.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I don't understand how anybody gets away with like fucking somebody over, scamming them or anything. The way the internet is, fuck. Back then, as long as you didn't go, like as long as you like win a town over, it's like you could fuck everybody over, move 100 miles away, and do it again.
Yep.
And nowadays, like, you can't get away with that shit. But, like, back then, I could only imagine. Like, people could just, oh, yeah, I'm new in town. Like, I just fucking robbed all these people for all this shit. Now I'm here to do the same thing. It's just, like, the way that technology wasn't to a point where things like that traveled like that. You know, in the same way, it's like how you could, you could scam stores with, like, credit cards and shit. It's like, you could get away with shit like that then. Now it's like, no, you don't have money. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like hoping.
Yeah.
Please go through.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's so different, man. Like, and it's like, it's obviously different. It feels better now. Like to have all this convenience of things.
Yes and no.
There is an aspect that I wish that certain things weren't this way.
But
because they are, the convenience is kind of
definitely
nice. But if we didn't have to have a credit score, then it'd be better to not have any of this shit,
The convenience is nice because then it's like, I say that and it's like, technology this. But then I like try to buy something online and it's not working. I'm like, fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi sucks.
Yeah.
Or now that when you stay in hotels, you got to pay for Wi-Fi.
Bro,
like, what
the
kind
Wi-Fi
of,
here
but
is
the
terrible.
HBO's free. What the fuck? I don't care about HBO.
I don't want to watch TV. I want
Give me
to go
some
on the
Wi-Fi.
The
Some real
Wi-Fi here
Wi-Fi.
is trash.
It's funny because on the way out here,
the most
it doesn't
irritating.
say HBO anymore. In like the old hotels, it says Netflix. Like, What, am I going to stay in your hotel and spend 3 hours looking for something to watch that I can't find at my house?
Yeah, also, I'm not going to pay for your Netflix. I'm just going to watch my own Netflix on my phone for free. I already paid for that shit. I'm good. I'm not going to use your Wi-Fi.
Just get Wi-Fi, motherfucker.
Yeah. It's like,
good shit.
I got an iPad with a cellular plan that's got unlimited data. I'm just going to watch it on there.
Exactly.
It's fine. But, and that's, that is the nice part about the way things are. But at the same time, it's like, I really wish social media and like cell phones and shit were just gone again. Because like you guys are both a little bit older than me. How old are you?
38.
Okay, so you're older than Steve too. So like even when I was a kid, but definitely when you guys were kids, like things were just better.
Not having a phone.
You just go outside
you just
and like
go
do
to
your
people's
thing,
houses
and your parents are like, "Yo, be home by dark," and you come home, and like you don't have to worry about fucking somebody calling you. And like if your friend was home, you'd walk your ass over there and go see.
I remember in the 80s when I was a kid, there's times I'd be 2 miles away from my house on a bicycle, and like there was always, this was before like Lifetime movies and shit were a thing. It was like there was always like a movie about some kid getting stolen and growing up with some kidnappers and then forgetting his old life. Like there was movies about that. And then we're just willy-nilly running up and down the street like
all the time.
Now it's like, my son is 10 going on 11. I leave him at the house alone sometimes because he's a homebody, because like every kid is now. But like I couldn't imagine him running down the street and going doing shit like that.
It's just a different world. I feel like you can't trust people as much as you could back then. Not to say that there weren't bad people then.
No, the stuff was still around. It just wasn't talked about.
It's not even to say that there's more bad people now. It's exactly that. It's that people just didn't fucking know about it.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, bro. Like if you don't know,
exactly,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
But now that's all you hear, you're like, oh, fucking, this, that, and the other, child abduction, blah, 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 blah. It always happened. And I think even now it's like, aren't the statistics that like violence and shit like that, all that shit's like lower than it has been. It's just like now you hear about it more, so it's more prevalent.
So with like when I would say like we just was worried about getting kidnapped, raped, and killed or some shit, right? If that was what you were scared of, but now it's like sex rings and sex cults or child trafficking and all that shit that's going on. It's like, and you don't really think about it until like you watch goddamn. Was it Liam McNeilson or whatever the fucking Taken? Yeah, you're like, oh shit, like that shit's real, and then you hear about.
I don't have any of the skills, so I'm screwed.
Exactly.
I don't have any of those fucking skills.
I have a certain particular set of
skills. I love
you,
but you're gone. I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, like
I'm not going to be able to go to Europe and find you.
Dude, I don't even have the money for that shit.
Yeah, I'm not even going to afford to get to Europe. Come on.
I don't even have my passport updated. I can't go anywhere.
Do you even have a passport?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I don't have. I need one. I think
I have to renew it.
I lost mine. I don't know where it is. It's valid. Somebody's probably using it.
For
somebody.
Sure.
I mean,
good luck. Cory Rushford.
Yeah, fucking paint these tattoos on your face.
How'd you not get the tattoos? How'd you get those off? Oh, just wash off.
Laser.
I got them. Oh yeah, exactly. They're in the picture, but they're not on you now. Where'd they go? Makeup.
That was a TikTok picture.
Yeah, you don't understand. It was a joke. My friends dared me to do that.
Yeah.
So I drew them on there for the picture. But I don't know, bro. Like that was how it always was. I'd like in the summer, my dad, like I was like fucking 10 years old, and my dad was a construction worker. He'd go to work at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. He wouldn't be back till 5, 6 o'clock at night, and I was home by myself.
Yep.
And I went and hung out with my friends all motherfucking day, and I did whatever I wanted. And I didn't have a cell phone, so how's he gonna call me? He wasn't.
Yeah.
He just was like, I was like, I'll see you when you
just
get home.
assumed everything was working the way it was. So we used to get our ass whipped though because of that. You come home, your dad comes home and goes, "You didn't do all this stuff." He goes, "Come here."
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, well, you see, I went to my buddy's house in the morning, and we went and rode bikes all day, and I kind of forgot to do all of that.
Yeah.
Yep, that was not good.
You're grounded. Like,
right.
Fuck.
Psych, you're going to go to work tomorrow, and my ass is going to leave, and I'm just going to be home before you get back.
What's weird is, like, before, I mean, we had games growing up, like Nintendo and shit like that, but these are games, like, you can get and beat them in, like, at 2 hours or 3 hours, right? Now these games are, I like playing video games a lot, but I'm not like a Call of Duty nerd where I'm playing this.
Fucking Jose.
I'm like, I play those games that you have like 120 hours in and you just pop it on every once in a while, you know what I'm saying? I was like, we didn't have that shit growing up. Like, you know what I mean? Like those real intense, long-term games.
Like Xbox came out when I was younger, and that was like the closest thing to that. And like it had definitely some gnarlier shit, but like, I don't know, I played it for a while, and then like, fuck man, I have a PlayStation 4. The new one's 5, right? Yeah, I have a 4, and it's like, I think I played games on it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever fucking use it. But I just bought a Nintendo 64 again.
Dude.
And that shit is awesome.
GoldenEye?
I fucking play that all the time now.
GoldenEye.
Get some Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Dude, I've been playing Super Mario 64.
Oh, that's
And,
the
like,
older one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one where, you have to, like, you jump in the castle and you jump to the paintings and shit.
Yeah, I like that one.
So I've been playing
Dude,
that lately.
that console with Zelda was like the best one ever.
Ocarina of Time?
Yep.
Dude, so good. So I just bought one of those off Craigslist or off OfferUp or whatever. I went and found this dude in, like, Westminster that had one. And, like, I didn't even know this existed now. He has, like, a game cartridge, and, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not, like, I don't care whether... I could see where some people who, like, want to collect and have the cartridges. I got one cartridge that has, like, 380 fucking games on it. It's got all the good games.
Yeah.
One fucking cartridge.
Perfect.
And, like, I bought that, 2 controllers, the system for like $200. Best $200 I've ever spent. I play it all the time. It's great. Yeah.
Those things are worth a lot of money now. Even like the regular Nintendos and the Segas, those things are worth money.
I sold my Nintendo 64 with all my controllers and a ton of fucking games like 10 years ago for like $80.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Like, even I don't even care if I would have sold it, but like, I still would have used it. Like, what did I need $80 so bad for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I was trying to do or what I needed to
There's
do.
some things that,
I
like,
needed $80 for some reason.
Yeah, there's some things like that where you know that you could sell it. And I could probably get $20 for it. Like, I'm just gonna throw it away or give it to somebody.
Yeah.
Unless it's worth like a couple $100 or $150 or $100, I'd sell it. But
back when is like I wasn't,
The worst thing is like when it's a thing that's like, man, I could probably sell for $70 and you put it on Instagram or something. Like, hey man, I'll buy it, man. Can you cover shipping? I'm like,
that's like
now I made $20.
That's the whole thing.
It's like going to the swap meet.
Yeah.
I'm like $20 and they're like 10, and I'm like, when you leave, I'm gonna throw it away for free, just to not sell it to you.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I'm like, $20. It's like an $80 part. Like, we had fucking a set of like springs, like Patriot springs for like $200, and this guy's like, we're like, oh, like, I don't know, $80 for a set of $200 springs. They're like hardly ever been used. The guy's like $20, and I'm like, go fuck yourself.
The last time we went to the swap meet, this guy was like, hey, how much for those Patriot springs?
He didn't even say Patriot. He didn't know what the fuck
He didn't even
were.
know they were. I was like, $20. And he's like, oh. I'm like, how much?
That's what it was.
What was it, $5 you wanted to pay? I'm like, $20 for Patriot springs they're completely fine. We just have them. I don't know how.
We took him out of somebody's bike. I
don't know. We took him out of somebody's
and they didn't
bike
want
and
him,
whatever.
And here.
I'm like, $200 springs for $20? Like,
that sounds like a
me? I'm just trying to get rid of them. Like, just buy them.
But I'm petty, bro. Like, if somebody says, like, I'm like, oh, $10, and they're like, will you take 7? I'm like, if you have exact change, I will take 7.
If you give me a 20,
I'm petty as well. I was we have a lot of those outlet malls that are kind of outdoor and you can walk around, and there's a van store, and then there's usually a Journeys, and then a Zoomies and shit. And I walked into Journeys because Journeys sometimes has vans that none of the other stores do. Right. So I walk in and I picked it, and I was just looking for the classic black and white ones, just the black shoes with the white little whatever it is.
The swoosh.
And I walked in there.
Nike.
You know what I mean.
I walked in there. I picked it up off the shelf, and the guy goes, I'm sorry, because of COVID, you can't touch the shoes. And I looked at him, and I was like, and I put them down.
I'm just going to leave.
And I walked right across the street and bought the exact same shoes from the other store that I could touch them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you fucking serious? Sorry, I was going to put this in my mouth afterwards. You're right. Thanks.
I was about to fucking cough into this.
Yeah.
And then it would get on your foot, and then you would all die.
I do this weird thing where I go to stores and I lick the shoes. Thank you for stopping me from doing that. But dude,
funny.
everyone at the swap meet, bro, all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm like, $10. And they're like, will you take 7? I'm like, and then it's always that. I'm like, $20. And they're like, will you take 10? I'm like, sure. And then they give me a 20, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. Like,
or
I'm
pull
like,
out a wad
you.
of cash. And I'm like, I get the hustle. I don't care. We're there to get rid of that pallet right there is full of, that's all swap meet. That whole
we
thing,
go there and
whole
like
shelf.
and
we just get rid of shit. It doesn't matter.
Minimal amounts of parts where we actually are like, we need a certain amount for this. Someone's like, hey, what will you take on this? I'm like, throw me an offer. They're like, $5. I'm like, done. But half the time people are like, I don't know, $20. And I'm like, sick. In my head, I'm like, I would have sold it for $5. So it works out well in our favor because it's generally like junk that we don't need. But some people, it makes me, I'm like, I'm just going to throw this away for free. Like how you said, like, I don't want to go through the trouble of selling it for $20. Like, I'm going to not sell it to you for 10 because you're insulting me. And I'm going to throw it away for free.
I did that. I was selling a paint booth once, and that's how I bought my first FXR. And these Asian guys came over, and they were just trying to hustle me. Like, we're talking about $100.
I get the art of the deal, but come on, people.
Yeah, it was like a $15,000 paint booth. It's used, obviously, but it's already taken apart, so it's easier for them to transport.
And they're gonna nickel and dime you over $100.
Yeah, and the principal was $100, and it was like I wanted $8,000 for it, and he was like,
and it was $15,000 paint booth.
$15,000 paint booth.
It's already almost half price.
Yeah. Usually they're put together and like I sell it to you and then you got to take it apart.
Yeah, you have to disassemble it and then move it. And this is already taken apart.
It's already done.
All the hard work's
done.
And
so I was like, no, man, I'm sorry. And he goes, well, that's my final offer. I was like, I ain't selling it then. And then he left.
$7,900?
Yeah. And then he left and I sold it 2 weeks later for $6,000.
I mean,
like
I would take it though. I would just be like, yo, fuck that guy though.
Yeah. It's pretty much, it was a $1,900 situation that I wish that I would have just not been that guy. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm still glad he doesn't have it though.
Yeah, but like, at the end of the day, you're like, at least he didn't fucking score it off me.
Actually, I think it was like $300. It wasn't 100. It was like $300.
Even still, when it's that much money,
come on.
It's like one of our buddies was gonna go buy a truck, and he's like, and trucks are dumb expensive now, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, they like came down to like 54, and he's like, I told him 51, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, and I'm like,
it's not like it's physically coming out of your pocket.
$300.
It's gonna be on the finance.
I'm like $300. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm like, how bad do you want this truck? He's like, oh, I want it. I need it. I want it. And I'm like, you're going to let we're talking $50,000, $300 going to make or break this deal for you? I'm like, put your pride aside and just go buy the fucking truck, dude.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck cares? It's $300. Like, $300 is money, like $300. But when you're talking $50,000, $300 is small fish.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to let that, like that guy, $8,000, you're talking, you're going to walk away. You're going to come all the way out here, look at this, talk to me, and walk away over $300.
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yep.
I hate it. I can't stand people. I get it, dude. Like, I get the bartering thing, but like, at a certain point, I'm just like, I'm not like, it's like that system.
Too many people watch. They watch too much of those American
Pawn
Pickers
Stars,
and Pawn Stars, and a lot of those things are scripted, fake things. I think they're all actually, and it makes people think that like. It's like selling bikes sometimes, right?
I can't stand it.
I can't stand it either.
It's like people are, why don't you guys flip more bikes? I'm like, because it's terrible.
There is a fun thing to do though. Yeah. Me and my buddy, we used to, we were trying to find a Sportster for my brother, and so we would call people on the deal.
I was gonna say, I feel like I know what you're gonna say, and I feel like I do it too.
We would offer them a stupid price, and then like also, we'd hit them like, oh, you want $5,000 for that Sportster? Well, check it out, man. We have $2,500 in this dope ass VCR. Will you take that? And it's like text messages.
Yeah.
Because we're texting them from Craigslist or some shit, and they're like, "Nah, man, I'll take $4 for it." And it's like, it's one of those things that like we're not really interested in it, but it's just a fun aspect of doing it. But we also would try to do it like this, where it'd be 3 of us around a table, and we'd wait all day, and we'd all 3 send them a message with a different offer, but all in that same range that like we're wanting to spend 20. Let's just say we want to spend $3,000. So we all 3 use different people's phones and send them offers for like $2,000 or something.
And then your offer sounds a hell of a lot better. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I always do that shit. Lowball the fuck out of them from a couple different people, and then when you hit them with like a real reasonable offer that is something that you would be willing to pay, they're like, oh fuck, I got lowballed by like 4 other people today. Like, yeah, I'll take $3,000.
Exactly.
Like, score.
So
like, you didn't know that was all me.
Yeah, I was trying to. I've been wanting an 82 FXR, but I refuse.
That's what I have.
Yeah, I refuse to pay like more than $2,500 for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want a perfect running and driving one, because this is one that I want to have chopped and deraked and do.
If mine didn't already have the shovel taken out, I would have left the shovel in it.
Yeah.
100%. I wouldn't have taken the shovel out.
Yeah.
But being that it already was gone, I'm like, I'm not going to put it back in. But mine's an 82.
Nice.
It's dope. I like it.
Yeah. That's my birth year, so I wanted it as it's the first year FXR. 83 would have been better because they have cooler, like the 83 RT. It's a pretty special bike, but the 82.
There's little nuances about those things that are different.
Yeah.
Like little things that I didn't necessarily know, but like looking at mine to his, there's like little tweaks with the frame. The struts are a little bit different. Like little fucking things that are different with them, which I had no idea about. But yeah, dude, that's the best. Or like I like to hit people up on there and like when they're far away, I'm giving away all my secrets. So luckily I don't sell much shit on there anymore, so people can't do it to me. But like we'd always hit people up. Like some guy's in like San Diego and he has something we want. And then I'd like kind of figure out where halfway in between that is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, you're in San Diego. Like I'm in, Victorville or some shit. I'm like halfway is like off the 15 in this exit. Like, would you mind meeting me? All the while, that's right down the street from my house. So the guy's like, oh yeah, like I'll meet you there. I'm like, cool, just text me when you get to the gas station. And he texts me and I'm like, all right, cool, I'll be there in just a minute. I'd hop in my car and fucking drive around the block to the gas station and be like, oh fuck, man, it was a long drive, right? And I'd grab the shit and fucking go back home. 2 minutes. I'm like, this motherfucker just drove it all the way up here for me. Like I just like tricked people into delivering it for me. It's fucked up, but like it beat driving all the way to San Diego. I'll tell you that.
For sure.
It's kind of along those same lines. That was the best way to do it. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, so right in the middle is off of the 15 and Limonite. And like, meanwhile, that's our exit. And I'm like, that's, I could throw a rock at the motherfucking gas station.
Yeah.
But he don't know that. So.
Did we buy a 110 like that?
Yeah, maybe. Several things. Yeah. That gas station, I did that to a lot of people. Cool. And I didn't even pay him extra. Because like they're not going to deliver it the whole way. I'm like, yo, but I'll give you an extra $50 if you want to meet me halfway. Yeah. Because like it's going to cost me more in gas and time to go down there and do it. So it was worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, score. Now I don't have to fucking do anything. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm on my way. It says I'll be there in an hour. And I'm like sitting down watching TV. Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, cool, dude, be right there. Throw my shoes on and go. It's fucked up. It's karma, but it is what it is. That's the worst, that's the worst thing you got.
Your motor blew in fucking
exactly. That's why we're sitting where we're sitting, right? If that's the worst thing you got on your karma plate, I think it's okay.
Deal with it, yeah.
I don't know how long you usually go for these things, but I can talk all day. I know I talk way too much.
Well, I was going to say, didn't one of you guys have something to do at 11?
He did, but here we are.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, like I said, we're good, man. We've done 2.5 hours, so and I think dude, it's awesome to kind of get to know you guys. I don't know that people want to listen to me ramble on for that long, so you cut it whenever you want. But we're good. I was gonna say because I got to get ready to go up north, but I wanted to say thank you guys for doing this, and
yeah, thank you.
Tell everybody where to find Track or Die on the gram. On you guys are a full service shop that sells parts, everything right here in Corona.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, I mean, if you're in SoCal and you need anything, we can make it happen. We do a little. We got a couple of choppers going on here right now. We got new bikes, old bikes, fab.
We just started doing
custom. Frames, really anything.
Frames,
I mean,
so we do it all.
We don't paint. We don't do shit like that. There's some things we definitely sub out, but for the most part, we can do anything. And if we can't do it, we know somebody who can, so they can come get it anywhere. But Instagram, Track or Die, Facebook, Track or Die. Pretty much anything related to that, Track or Die. And website, Track or Die.
Track or Die. There's a full online store there.
Yep.
I checked that out.
All the good shit, new shit coming all the time. And we carry a lot of other people's parts as well. So and I always tell people, if there's anything on there we can't, we don't have on there, we can get. We have all the same accounts every other shop does. We have the big distributor accounts and everything. We can get anything. Just maybe I didn't take the time to put it all on the website just yet. So that was that, and then. What was I gonna say?
We have a couple videos. We have some goofy,
some YouTube videos,
install videos
we need to do more
on YouTube.
Of how to do shit. How to put our parts in, and then how to do little other things. We need to do some more of those. But
YouTube's the same thing. Track or Die.
Yep.
Same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. Luckily that name wasn't taken anywhere else. it was unique enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. It's cool that a podcast can. I told you before we did this, and I haven't said that yet here, but I'm not a huge podcast guy. But it's cool that a podcast, you can do something like this, and it's they don't know that we never met each other, but until you came today, we'd never met. I didn't even know who you were. I knew who you were, but didn't know who you were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know you could have walked up any other time and not told me, and I wouldn't have had any fucking idea. So it's cool that that can happen, and we can sit down, and it's we can have a conversation like this, and it's we've been friends for a while.
Because bikes do that shit. You know what I'm saying? You were saying about the rides and everything, but that's the point, man. Like I said, it's just a way for people to, when you're in a shop like this and you're working, and you have multiple people, that's usually where people throw the headphones in. They're listening to this while you're working on this, because it's all relative to what they're doing now. Yep. So, we have a lot of people that do tech stuff, or mechanics and things like that, plus people the commute, when you're driving an hour and a half to get to the spot every day, that's where people kind of pop those podcasts in. But it ain't for everybody, you know what I mean? But there's plenty of people that listen to it.
I did some for a while, it was I'd always listen to what the fuck did I listen to? There was a couple just more business related podcasts. Not really not really
it's like Andy Frisella type stuff.
Shit like that. It was just it was more or less just seeing people who have built something into something big, and just kind of hearing about the things they go through, because it's like anything else, shit happens, and it's you get tired of doing shit. Everyone thinks that running your own shit's all sunshine and rainbows, but sometimes I will say that I do love what I do, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but there are days where I'm just I don't fucking want to do this anymore. So sometimes it's cool to hear other people go through that shit, because it's just another thing, it's just people want to hear people be talk about motorcycles. They're into motorcycles. It's I'm like, bro, I do not feel like it right now. Like I'm in a fucking weird way, you know? And to hear other people like go through that same shit's nice sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like I used to listen to shit like that a lot just to like kind of like try and stay on track and stay focused and shit. And I just haven't in a while, but I need to start again. And I need to check more of yours out because
I mean we've had a lot of great guests on there, man, and from all over the country.
He was flipping through them earlier, and there's tons.
And
200 episodes almost.
Yeah, we're at I think we have out 190, and you're the fourth we've done since on this trip, and by the end of this trip we'll be well over 200.
That's fucking wild.
I think we have 20 people booked on this whole trip.
Bro. That's crazy.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it does get difficult because, I mean, it's easy to, like, I've known of you guys, I followed you guys for years, but, like, there's so many shops and so many different brands, especially just in the SoCal area, to, like, get on your algorithm.
Right.
Or for your feed to become on my algorithm and see you
exactly
all the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
the second you like somebody's shit, it pops up, but if you don't...
Yeah, if you don't like and comment and shit like that, you don't see it a lot. Now, it's just one of those things, but I'm trying, as a podcast dude, my goal is to try to come into these things and relate to you guys in a sense.
Yeah.
That way we can have a 2.5 hour conversation and it actually feels genuine because I'm actually truly interested in what you guys, the path that you took and the path that you took to come together.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Make this.
Exactly. And like, for us, it's like, you'd hit me up and like, it's funny because one of our buddies always like would hit me. He's like, oh, you guys should do that. You guys should do that. You guys should do that. Eric, he always says that he knows you. Like, I don't know. Like, Eric says he knows a lot of people and he's going to listen to this. He's going to laugh about it.
Yeah.
He says he knows a lot of people. I don't know who he actually knows or like whether, like, I don't know what kind of relationship or friendship there is.
He shoots a lot of photos and stuff like that. Yeah. I met him at Born Free last time. And he'd been listening to the podcast for a while.
He's gonna listen to this and yell at me about saying that, but it is what it is. But I don't want to be like, yeah, dude, Eric said you guys are friends, and you're like, yo, who the fuck's Eric? And I'm like, so I don't want to like put it like I don't want to make it weird, But
it's too late now. But we totally should have planned that. Like, yeah, Eric Ariano, and you're like, yeah, I have no idea who the fuck is that.
What?
We just say his last name. Now other people are gonna know who he is. You don't need to give him any more publicity than he already gets. No, he'd always give me like a hard time about like, oh, you guys should do that. And I'm like, bro, like, look, I'm not going to go out of my way. I'm like, when it happens, I'm not going to be like hounding this dude, be like, yo, put us on your shit.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't that guy. But I'm like, and then you reached out to me and I told him about it. He's like, oh, see? And I'm like, bro, I told you though. I was like, it was going to happen naturally.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. Like, I'm not trying to force the shit.
I mean, a lot of this trip is two things. It's wanting to bring people on that I haven't spoken to yet.
Yeah.
Because, like, now that we've done this, dude, we could do this all the time and fill up 2.5 hours.
Now we'll be homies, Like, now we'll fucking,
So it's easy, but I wanted people to be able to learn or hear from new people we haven't spoken to yet.
Absolutely.
And so, like, as I'm planning this trip and planning where I'm going to be, fucking SoCal is huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like this is a perfect day. I stayed in Temecula last night. You guys are in Corona right here down the street. Speed Kings is in Riverside right there. And originally I was going to do Alloy Art tonight in Pasadena, but I have to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
And so it's still Pasadena, then Long Beach.
Yeah, because you got to go up to Santa Clarita and then back down.
Yep.
And then
so
you
I don't
want Long Beach too?
Yeah. So I'm going to do Pasadena, then Long Beach, then Chatsworth, then back in Santa Clarita tomorrow night, and then back to Chatsworth, and then Santa Clarita. So it's like I don't want to come back over to this side of LA.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And so it's trying to keep it in line.
Yeah, no, it all worked out. But we had talked about it like I was telling my chick last night. I'm like, remember that podcast I was talking about? I'm like, well, it's tomorrow morning and I forgot. So it's a good thing he hit me up because she was asking me about it. And she's like, because it's funny because it's Eric's birthday party thing tonight, and she was like, oh, how funny would it be if it's on his birthday thing? And I'm like, oh, well, it's in the morning anyway.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's not. It was. So, luckily, because you messaged me yesterday and I told him yesterday, I'm like, so I meant to tell you that I signed us up for this podcast, so hopefully you're free, but like it's tomorrow morning, so like be free.
Yeah.
So it all worked out, but no, I just wanted it to happen naturally. I wasn't ever trying to like, I don't ever want to, like, I hate that guy, that like tries too hard for shit. It's like, I just want shit to fall into place.
I reach out to people whenever I feel like I can have a conversation. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are really talented, that are doing badass shit, and I'm trying to find an angle, to do things. Now, this podcast, I kind of had some angles, but I was also asking friends, like, hey, so what do you know about these guys? To get an idea and get a feel and find a road to go down, like knowing that you worked at West Coast Choppers.
Yeah, you gotta fucking have some topic, like have something to, you gotta have some some sort of something to talk about.
Yeah.
Like obviously you could spitball a conversation for however long you want, but I guess it's not really pertinent to the podcast if you don't get some information that's
guys like
worth
you guys
using.
are more talkative, right? So there's some people that are very
Talk too much, bro.
I'm
sorry.
There's some people you sit down with that they treat this like an interview.
Yeah.
And therefore they answer the question and then wait for the next one.
Like professional, like
yeah, and it's like fuck, man, like it's one of these ones.
Can you speculate on that?
Yeah.
No, not really.
That's tiring.
Next question.
Yeah.
But no, what I was gonna say is like, because it just like, I know you put out posts where you're like, who should I do next? And like we'd get tagged by people.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I never was like gonna hit it up and be like, yeah, dude, do us.
Well, see, the reason I do that, and I want to clarify this right now. The reason I do that is so that though they tag you, and you see the importance, so that I don't have to do so much. I don't have to do so much.
Makes
like,
it
hey
less
man,
for you,
I'm
right.
kind of a big deal. Like I want to help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes it easier. But what happens is they message me and say, dude, you should do one with them. I was like, you fucking tag them.
Yeah.
If I tag them, then I'll definitely do that.
Because that was Eric all the time. He's like, I tell him to do it with you guys all the time. And I'm like, it'll happen when it happens, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not going out of my way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sure he's not going out of his way. I'm like, it's going to happen one
Well,
time.
see, it's the other thing is like I don't want to do phone podcasts, which I've done. I don't like them.
It ain't the
I
same,
prefer
though.
this.
Yeah.
And
Do it over
eventually,
Zoom, like everybody these days?
I've done that too, and it's better than the phone, but it's still
not the same,
It's not
though.
the same.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, we have a studio, and we wanted to come out here and bring people on, and then hopefully the listenership really enjoys this.
Yeah.
And you guys see the importance. You sell some parts. You do some shit.
Next time maybe we're in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
We'll go check your spot out because
And
that's the way I
the
want to
good
do it,
thing
you know?
about Dallas is it got an airport where you can fly out of all these airports over there for fucking $50.
Yep.
Round trip.
Oh, right, because that's the big destination.
Yeah.
Fly into
Yeah.
town, eat some fucking Texas-sized meal,
Yeah.
get up the next morning, fly home. I ain't mad about
I'm
that.
down.
Yeah.
You tell me.
I ain't
when,
mad about
where,
it.
It's all
and-
video, and we can talk shit and drink a beer if y'all drink a beer
Yeah.
and do all that kind of shit.
We'll watch you drink a beer,
That's
but that's
cool.
all right.
That's fine.
I'm gonna
I'll drink a
I'll
Monster,
drink some
you
water.
know, whatever.
I gave up caffeine like a year and a half ago, so
Yeah, I need to do all that shit.
Steve drinks all the caffeine. I'm unhealthy in many other ways. It's just not caffeine related
Yeah.
anymore.
I think I got 2 more years left on my drinking habits, and then I'm gonna quit so I can get my life together.
Sometimes
I want to be skinny like you guys, man. I want to fit into a medium again. Is that what you wear?
that's schmedium.
He wears a medium.
Schmedium.
I wear a large, pushing
I'm
an
just-
XL.
You know, I've just been that fucking high metabolism person for my whole life. And my dad always tells me it's going to catch up to me, and it hasn't gotten there yet. But one of these days it will, and I'm going to get fat.
I just see you slowly morphing into your
Yeah.
dad.
I'm going to get
the
fat.
timeline.
Honestly, I was his size until I was 30, and then that's when I started drinking. And
I'll be 30 in like 6 months, so we'll see.
and then so
This
I
time next year might be drastically different.
started drinking, and then it went from like 160 pounds. I was probably about 180,
That's
and
what I
then
am.
it went. I'm like 245 right now, trying to get my shit together.
It fits your body type though. If I was 245, I'd look like a fat piece of shit.
I feel like a fat piece of shit.
But you don't look it though.
Yeah,
It's like
you don't
Josh,
look
one of
it
the
at
guys who
all.
works here. He's always talking about how he is, and I'm like, bro, you look normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, your frame fits it. Not to say that not to say that you don't need to be in shape or whatever.
It just
You can
sucks
do
because like when you go to the store to buy clothes or some shit. Like if I like wearing Vans, bro. Vans stores don't sell 2XL shirts.
Right.
So you're kind of like,
They
well,
don't.
fuck, man.
I can't say I've ever
It's
looked.
very rare.
Never had a reason to look.
I've got like 1 or 2, but when you get in the 2X range, or even the XL, sometimes it's like things are either they fit
Yeah.
good or they're way off or they're tight in
Wide or
certain
long
areas.
or
Yeah.
long or wide.
It's like I don't wear flannels because of that reason, because I don't want this shit shaping everything out and having lines everywhere looking
Yeah.
like a topography map.
Yeah, too tight. Yeah, it's got all these
Fucking graph.
all these
on your
mountains.
body.
Yeah.
But yeah, we make fucking 3X because people are like, make 3X. And then I
Yeah.
make 3X. And what are we stuck with at the end? Fucking 3X.
Yeah.
So if people are listening to this, buy fucking 3X. Because you guys ask for it, and then I make it, and you don't fucking buy it.
Yeah.
So don't ask for it if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Because I only made up to 2X, and it was fine. And everyone's like, oh, make 3X. So I did.
No, we have.
Guess what we have left over on
See,
everything?
what
after
happens
that?
is the last time I've done 2 runs of shirts my entire life. We're going to start doing a lot more now. So in the big wheel bagger thing, I was selling the fuck out of XLs
yeah.
and 2XLs and 3XLs.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And then I started doing this Dyna FXR shit, and then
No,
people were
it's
asking for
small.
fucking smalls and mediums.
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say we do like large XL more
Yeah.
than anything for sure.
yeah, I think that's the most common body type. So
But yeah, for me, I'm like, yeah, small, medium. Everyone's like, oh yeah, here's some free shirts. I'm like, oh, all larges, cool. I'll go
But
fuck
then
myself.
it's tight. I'm like, you can give them.
Yeah, and then Steve gets all the shit. It's every time. Because yeah, people can't see me, but yeah, I'm a solid 150 pounds soaking wet. So
cool.
it's good for going fast on motorcycles. Not good for finding clothes either.
Yeah, well, yeah. Do you get to shop in the kids section at all?
I I could, even though I shouldn't. I'm too tall for the kids section, but if I was shorter, I fucking would be able to pull 100%.
It off. 100%. Get the shoes a little bit cheaper too.
100%. My feet are like actually normal size, thankfully. Him and I almost have the same shoe size, so it's not terrible.
That's not bad.
But yeah, I'm just having really like gangly limbs, like kind of like, you know.
Like a spider monkey.
Yeah, somewhat sickly long sometimes, depending on the situation, you know. What I'm wearing, I'm like, man, my legs are really fucking long and thin. This is weird. Well, you know. Anyway, on that note, we're getting talking about too much now.
We're done now. It's over.
Oh, fuck. I was like, good. We're going on too far.
All right, guys. Thanks. I want to thank Steve and Cory for sitting down and chopping it up with us early in the morning. It was a good podcast. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. I also want to let you guys know April 22nd through the 25th, we are doing the Fast Life Campout. You guys have heard me talk about it. You've heard podcasts about it. And I'm sure you're seeing it all over the internet. And I can't tell you enough as to why it's a great event that you probably don't want to miss. Pure, hardcore, normal biker shit. We're just riding across country, sleeping on the ground, drinking beer, riding hard, doing wheelies, racing each other, talking shit. It's everything you could ever ask for in motorcycling. It's like a long-ass bike night is what it is. But anyway, check it out. Adam Sandoval's K River Campground in Moyers, Oklahoma. It's going down. You can check out that. And also, if you want to support this podcast any more than you already are by listening to it, you can check out our Patreon, which is fastlifegarage.com. On the homepage, links to our Patreon, $1 a month, $5, whatever you feel comfortable supporting us with. It helps us keep this podcast growing and going. And yeah, that's all it takes. So you guys have a good one, and we'll see you back next week with, let me see who we're going to do this with next week. We have Steve from Speed Kings. Yeah, going to be a good one. All right, guys. Peace out.